All right, guys. So I'm super excited to be a part of this. This is the first ever annual Shed Sales Summit. I'm going to tell you why I know that there's going to be a second Shed Sales Summit because this one has already sold out. So looking for next year. At the end of this, we're going to have some really exciting news about next year's Shed Sales Summit. So I'm super excited to share that. So make sure you stick around. Don't take the phone calls. Don't sneak out because we got a lot of stuff coming on. Few things I wanted to go over. Um, the I had this thought that came to my head this morning, and there's so many different personality types. We've got the EOS and we've got all these different things that we do. And I had a thought that came, and it was if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always be where you've always been. And I've always loved that quote, and that just kind of popped in my head this morning. So something to keep in mind whenever you hear different kind of ways to present and ways to sell and how to tie that into your everyday. I just think that that's something that really popped in my head. So just kind of have an open mind as you hear all these different personalities and different things. So so we are going to give a thanks to our sponsors. So making sales simple. Let's give them a round of applause. First time doing this, they've done a great job. Really appreciate them. J-Mag, give them a round of applause. Mr. Craig Felker, he did awesome at the MBSRA yesterday. Hard to match his energy. Shed Geek, Shed Geek, we've got a few different divisions. Give them a round of applause. And then also, we've got Shed Suite with the great Jason Graber, my boy. And then also Building Hero. They're not here today, but they do lead generation and they do some online presence work as well. Tell y'all a little bit about myself. So I'm going to try to keep it short. It's very hard, but I've always kind of tied my testimony and just my life story into everything. There's a few people in the room that kind of know my story and know how it all came about. But oddly, I'm the president of Shed Geek Marketing. It's kind of the division that I run. And I actually started my business as a freelance videographer in a shed. And as a matter of fact, I know he's in the room. Summit Portable Build. There's Irvin. There's Irvin right there. So Irvin had a shed, and Shannon of the Shed Geek, he had a shed, and Kyle, and they wanted me to rent a space. And so I actually started my business inside of a shed as a freelance videographer. So it's just cool kind of looking at how it's all came about and all the people that I've watched come in the industry. But very grateful. I think there's just something different about the shed industry in general. The people are so good. They're so loyal. It's so tight-knit. It's so big, but it's so small. Would y'all agree with that? Like, it's so big, but it's so small. So few things about us and what we do though. We're a full-scale agency. We do branding, digital marketing, lead generations, automations. We do a whole round of things. As far as some of my other ventures, I have a slingshot rental company. I don't know if you know what these are. They're kind of like a knockoff Ferrari. Yeah, they got like two wheels in the front, one in the back. They're all convertible. Opened that in 2020 back in Paducah, Kentucky, where our hometown is. And we also have a local, local marketing agency as well. Also had 3 different side-by-side rental companies, one in Mammoth Cave, had one in Buffalo River, Arkansas, and then one in Branson, Missouri. Finally sold out of those. So once I really dove into marketing and, I got a little smarter and looking at finances and start figuring out how the margins work and the profits and all those things, I decided that marketing was my thing, and that's what I do. As of today, Shed Geek Marketing now serves over 40 shed clients, and we have, up to this point, never lost a client. And I'm very thankful. That's why I find this industry, it's good. That's good. Yeah, so very thankful for that. Really love this industry. Love all the great people that we've met, and just honored to be a part of this thing. So, we are going to go into the first speaker. First speaker is going to be Mr. Andrew Boyle, and he is a best-selling author, sales trainer, serial entrepreneur, co-founder of Making Sales Simple, and father to 7 children. So if you want to make your way up, let's give him a round of applause as he gets up here.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Well, hello, Michigan. It is great to be here this morning, and I am very impressed with the crowd waking up this early. I almost missed it myself, staying out late last night. Peter Miller over here was all texting me, and I'm worried about me making it, but I'm glad you guys made it as well. It is going to be a great day. We have a great lineup today, and I am just glad and excited that I get to go first, because I do not want to follow these speakers, because I'm going to give my speech here just in a minute. But right after me, we have Craig Felker from JMAG, and if you haven't met Craig, he is just a ball of energy, and he brings the energy to the room, and you can't help but have a smile on your face when he gives his speech. Following that, we have Gary Boyle, my brother. He's going to be giving a speech on some downfalls that we find in the shed industry. And then we're going to have a Q&A panel with some of the top experts in the industry. And then to finish it off, we have Rob Ball. Wave up Rob Ball. He's a keynote speaker, and he's going to be bringing some information on how we can do just a little bit better in the shed industry. And I am just honored and blessed to be a part of this industry. And I was telling Ben, Ben is new to our team, and this is the first shed event. So if you see him out there, if you would get to know him, he is new with us. And I was telling all about the shed industry and how it's a great industry. And I have the privilege to be a part of several different industries and different businesses that I own. But my favorite by far is the shed industry. You guys are just kind people. You're always helpful. A lot of other industries are not like this. They kind of are rude to you. They look at you as direct competition, and they don't want to talk to you. So I appreciate you guys' hospitality here in Michigan, and we look forward to today. But today I want to talk to you guys briefly about our mindset and about thinking differently and how that can impact our sales and how that can bring more sales and better relationships to our community when we begin to think differently. And I wanted you guys to imagine, today's a Wednesday, it's probably a slow day in the shed industry. So you'd probably be sitting in your office right now, and I want you to imagine for a second, just for a simple illustration, imagine you're on your phone. Now I know we don't do that, but our salespeople do, right? You're on your phone, and you're on level 99 of Candy Crush, and you've tried for 10 times to make it to level 100. Again, I know we don't do this, but our salespeople do, right? We do too. But you're on level 99. You're almost there, and that customer pulls up. What do we think about that customer? Come on, I know it's early. Come on. Oh, man, go away. Here's a better one. Let's just wait. Maybe they won't come in the office. And we sit there and we close the blinds, right? We've all seen our salespeople do it, right? And because they want to make it to level 100. So what do you think that the chances of closing that customer are? Probably a lot lower versus if we were there and we were actively engaged in our business. Maybe we were doing some inventory or some training or watching some videos. We'd probably have a lot higher success rate, right? Now that's a simple illustration that can see that if we have a different mindset, we're probably going to do better. So today I want to dive a little deeper into that and some other ways that we can change the way we look at a customer to have that higher success rate. And so this is an issue that I run into a lot with when I'm talking to people. When I'm talking especially salespeople about how we can do better, about how we can do more, how we can achieve more. And it always comes back to this. A lot of times when we were kids, Disney has this famous quote, if you can dream it, you can do it. And I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be Superman, and then I wanted to be Spider-Man, and then I wanted to be an NFL football player, right? And no matter how hard I dreamed or tried, I can never be Spider-Man, never be Superman. And so it begins to affect the way we look at other things. And I begin to see this downfall in salespeople that when they get to an obstacle, they think that they just can't do any better. They think that this is the average. I sold 10 sheds this month, that's great, because I sold 9 the month before. But then you look at the shed lot across the street and they're doing 20. And you go to that salesperson, they're like, yeah, I know, but I can't do any more because this is just what we do. And it begins to affect the way we think. And so in the Shed Sales Summit, if we get anything out of it, I want to get out just the bare minimum is that we can do a little bit more. And we can do just that next level. So I know it's early. I want everybody to stand up. Everybody stand up. Get stretched out this morning. I know it's early. So first off, turn to your neighbor and say, excuse me. Okay. Now go back to the other neighbor and say, I'm sorry. Okay, great, because this exercise, you're probably going to run into each other. You're probably going to poke each other. So we already got that out of the way. So don't feel awkward. It's okay. What I want you to do is put your finger out right in front of you like this. Point straight ahead. Point straight ahead. Okay, now I want you to turn all the way around as far as you can go without moving your legs, your hips. Okay, now look where your finger is pointing. Okay, keep it there. All right, now come back forward. Come back forward. Now I want you to, everybody put your hands down and close your eyes. I want you to imagine that you just did the same thing, but you went a lot farther. That you did your yoga, your stretches this morning, you went a lot farther. And then I want you to imagine that you can go all the way around one complete time like you're a noodle. And then just for fun's sake, imagine in your head you spinning around 2 complete times like you're the elastic man. And you can just be super flexible. Okay, now open your eyes back up. Now point your finger, say the same thing we just did. Now go all the way around. And did you go farther this time than the last time? You went just a little bit farther. Then you guys can have a seat. You guys can have a seat. And that's what I want you guys to get out of the Shed Sales Summit is that we can go just a little bit more. We can do just a little bit better. And simply by changing the way we look at obstacles and the way that we look at customers. And you're going to hear a lot of that in these guys that are coming after me that are going to speak. They have some phenomenal content that you're going to get your notepad out. You're going to be able to be ready because you're going to get some real nuggets that you can take home to your shed lot and to your people. But first, I want to tell you a little about myself. And of course, the slide said I have 7 children. And I come from 7 siblings. Actually, 2 of my siblings are here. And we actually went on vacation to San Juan, Puerto Rico just a couple of weeks ago. And we went on a cruise. And we got off, and like any good, cheap parent, you want to do an excursion. But when you have this many kids, we both have a lot of kids, you try to find a good deal. So we began to look for taxi drivers because we wanted to go to this waterfall. And it was $1,000 for us to go. And we're like, no way, $1,000? So we began to negotiate with these taxi drivers. And you guys know how it works. And we began to negotiate, and then we walked away, and we came back. We walked away, we came back. And so we finally got down to $300. They're going to take us, it was like over an hour away, stay with us, and then drive us back. So you can imagine what the $300 taxi driver looked like. That's exactly what he looked like. So we get in this rickety old van, and again, we have a lot of kids, so we're well over the 15-passenger maximum limit. Of course, so that means no seat belts. And we get in this van, and we're traveling, and he actually tries to pick up more people. And he stops, and he's like, yeah, you can get in. And we're like, sure. The people open the door, and they're like, no, thank you. And they close the door. So we're driving down the interstate in Puerto Rico at 70, 75 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, the hood pops up, smashes the windshield. We have all of our kids, not in seat belts, don't tell anybody, all of our kids in the car. The hood is completely up at this point. In the left lane, on a turn. So as any good taxi driver, he slams on his brakes in the interstate and begins to work on it. And there's cars coming flying up on a turn in the left lane, and we're yelling at the kids, sit down, and because they're looking, what are you looking at, Dad? And we're telling them to sit down, and he comes back in and gets a USB cable, and he's tying the hood down in the interstate, because in Puerto Rico, they don't have like the things you pull off. So finally we get there, and we get to this waterfall. And now, before you guys say anything, I should have said I'm from Florida, so this might not look that big to you guys that are from the mountains, but to us, this looks like Mount Everest. Okay, everything in Florida is flat. Okay, there's no, you don't really see any rocks. It's just sand, sand, more sand, hot sand. Hurricanes. We have one coming tomorrow. So sand, hot, hurricanes. That's all we have. Okay, we don't have this. So we get to this waterfall, and my brother Peter, he begins to go up with his son, who is 9, and his little daughter, which we call Baby. She's 4 years old, and Peter begins to walk up the waterfall. And like a good brother, I'm staying back and saying, hey, you got to go ahead and see how it is. I was with the other kids. And so he begins to walk up right here, on the wet part. And he's about halfway up, and the taxi driver, like a good taxi driver, is yelling at him, "Don't walk on the slippery stuff." And he begins to walk up, and guys, we're from Florida. We don't know that there's slippery stuff and there's not slippery stuff. It just looks like a waterfall to us. So he begins to walk up there, and the last time the guy yells, Peter turns around, he hears the guy. He's about halfway up the waterfall at this point. And he says, "Huh?" And at that time, his son slips, slides down the waterfall, takes Peter out. Peter hits his head. He takes his daughter out, baby. She slides all the way down the waterfall. So you can imagine the fear going through the kids' heads at this time. They just had the traumatic car ride. Then they had the traumatic, their dad getting washed out, and he's over there holding his head. And so he gets up, and we make it to the top. I come up there, and we go to the top. And like any good parent would do, we encourage our kids to go first. We said, "Hey, listen, we got to stay up here with the other kids. So you guys go first." And so, of course, it didn't work. So I went down. I was scared. I didn't want to go. So I went down. And then it was baby's turn, the little baby. She just slid down the mountain. She had just been through this traumatic car. And you can imagine the fear and everything that was going through her mind. And like Peter, as a good father that he is, he began to negotiate. "Hey, I'll give you ice cream. Hey, we'll go out for a party afterwards. Hey, I'll give you $50. And of course, none of that worked. And not to say that the mom is down there like, "No, don't do it. It's too scary." So she began to walk back down. She said, "I'm not going to do it." So finally, Peter, he gives up and is walking down the mountain or the waterfall. And at a last-ditch effort, he begins to ask one more question. And he says, "Baby, you don't want to go down the water slide?" And her eyes lit up. And she said, "It's a water slide?" And she said, "I love water slides." And at that point, when she began to look at the opportunity, and the fun, it changed her perspective of that. And now it might have looked bad, but guess what she wanted to do after that? She wanted to do it again and again and again. But it took two things. It took somebody like her father to encourage her to go. And it took multiple attempts, right? But the second thing is that she had to do, as a little 4-year-old, is she had to change her outlook on it. She had to see the possibilities and not the obstacles. And I see that so much in the shed industry. As salespeople, and even myself when I sell, is we begin to look at the possibilities. We begin to look at the obstacles and not the possibilities. And have you ever heard of the term selling out of your own wallet? Anybody heard that? Selling out of your own wallet? And that is where we begin to use our own mindset, our own wallet when we're selling to people. And one of the biggest curse words in the shed industry that I find is RTO. That's one of the biggest no-nos that I see in the shed industry. And why is that? Because salespeople like me are looking at it in the wrong aspect, right? We don't see why they need it. We try to tell them why they don't want it, right? We say, well, it's going to be this price, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that. But yet we fail to realize the opportunities that are there to help service our customer. I recently moved, and when I moved, we don't have a house to go to. We hadn't bought one yet. And so I began to have all this stuff. I have 7 kids, and we have a lot of stuff. And so I began to, like a good friend and good sibling, I began to think, whose garage can I use? Whose truck can I use? And I began to think, and then it came up, like, why don't I just get a storage unit? And I was like, a storage unit? They got rats. It's not AC. Probably going to get stolen. No, I don't want that. And you know what the last thing that popped in my mind was? A shed. And I'm in the industry, right? But so many times we drive by these storage units, and I called them full, full, full. But yet, people don't understand that they could get a shed with very little money down, with no impact on their credit. Because people do not want to come into your shed lot and say, hey, my name's Andrew. I have terrible credit. They're not going to say that. And even if they do, we don't know why they have terrible credit. We've all gone through hard times in our life where we needed some help, right? We may have gone through, we lost our job, or there's a lot of life instances that doesn't make you a bad person, but you don't want to go in and be like, hey, listen, I know that you don't think I'm an RTO guy, but you got RTO? And it's almost like we have to pull it out of the salespeople. And we see that so many times in the shed industry. And another thing I see is objections, right? A lot of times as salespeople, we try to avoid the objections. But if we can begin to think differently about objections and how we handle them, it would change our sales process and it would change our sales. And let me give you an example. You know, as a salesperson, a lot of times, if you're like me, is we try to get them in and sell them as fast as we can because we don't want to get the objections because we're scared of them, right? Like, oh no, they're going to say they're just looking, they're going to come back. And you're trying to sell them, get them to get them to say yes, 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 and shake your head, yes, 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 okay, yes, I got them, right? And then they give you the objection, like, oh, I lost them. If we change the way we look at objections and change it into almost, I like to look at it as a game. As a game to see how many objections I can give them before they give them to me. And here's what I mean. I was talking to some people, and the number one objection everybody thinks is, I'm just looking, right? Is what I like to do is to give that objection, have a game to see if I can give it to them before they give it to me. Here's what I mean. Customer pulls in the lot, Ben pulls in the lot. Hey, Ben, great to see you. We're looking at the sheds. Now, Ben, I know you're just looking today, but I'm going to go in the office, I'm going to get some paperwork for you. Again, I know you're probably not buying, you're just looking, but I'm going to get you all the information so I can help you out. So I gave that objection to them, so now they can't give it to me, because it'd be awkward if they, usually I'm just looking, that'd be weird. The other objection of a lot in the shed industry is size, right? They don't know if it'll fit, because we all know that people don't know how to measure, especially setbacks, and every county is different, and if you have those rules, like Florida, we have 1,000 different codes. So if we could give that objection to them before they give it to us, another example would be, hey, Ben, this shed's great, this 12 by 24, that's awesome. Glad you want it. Now let me go inside and do a Google Earth, and we're going to get a measurement for you to make sure that fits. So what did I just do? I just took another objection away from him, and I gave it to him. Because I'm thinking of it differently, and I'm thinking of it as a game. Okay, I got two. Okay, what's the third one? That would be, I have to go talk to my wife, right? We get that a lot. And customers usually don't wait, and they're not telling you that in the middle. They're until the end, and then they're done. They're leaving. So if I can give that objection to him before he gives it to me, it would change the game, wouldn't it? Here's another example. Ben's looking at the shed. I already got his size. I already acknowledged he's just looking. Now I'm going to say, so on the sales process, we're not talking about this today, but the sales process, we should be building a relationship with our customers, right? We should know about them. We shouldn't be just a robot salesperson, right? We should know about where they're from. We should know about if they're married or not. We should know. So that's a different topic. But say we already know that he's married, right? He's got a wedding ring on. Hey, Ben, I'm going to get you this written up. Now, hey, I'm going to go inside and get some information. Now, I know a lot of times, the wife wants to see it. I know it's probably for your stuff, Ben, probably for your lawnmower and stuff. But just, if you got a minute, why don't you just FaceTime her real quick? You can show her the bill. I'll give you a minute. I'll go inside, and you can meet me inside when you're done. And what did I just do? I just gave him an objection before he could give me an objection. And the list goes on and on and on, and we go over all the objections today. There's ways that we can give them without having to get them. And when you begin to look at the sales process as a game and as exciting, it will begin to change the way that you sell. It'll change the way that you look at the customer. And then as your sales process goes, it'll begin to grow. Now you'll be doing that. Then you'll be adding, oh, I got this objection. And what I like to do is I take objections like a trophy. Like, I got an objection. I want to write that down. Because next time I'm going to sit there, when they leave, instead of playing Candy Crush, I'm going to figure out how to give that objection before I can get that objection. And worst case scenario, I get the objection, but I can learn how to overcome that objection. When we begin to look at customers differently, and we begin to kind of see that in a different light, it'll change the way we sell. And it'll change us from a robot salesperson to, hey, how are you doing today? If you need any help, I'm in the office. It'll change the way we see the customers. And if all we can get out of this sales summit is just one thing that we can change our mind on. And a quote from Les Brown, one of the guys I like to listen to, is there is nothing more powerful than a changed mind. If we can change our mind or our approach or our sales tactic in just one way, I think that it'll change the way we sell sheds, and it'll change the industry. But thank you guys very much for coming this morning. It's been great talking to you guys.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
No, it's interesting. It's always interesting how like things. It always lines up. It always seems to line up on that quote that I said this morning. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always be where you've always been. I love how everything lines up and it all kind of works out together. So now the next guy coming up, he's coming up under a few conditions. Okay, a few conditions. All right. So me and Mr. Craig Felker, we go back quite a ways. I remember the first time that I met him. What Craig's really good at is he's a culture guy. But my favorite thing about him is that the culture always points towards Jesus, and I've always known that about you. I always appreciate that about you. Then I got to say some actual things on here about you. He's a great guy. He's former CMO in the shed industry, 20-year leading multi-million-dollar brand sales and marketing teams, PR expert, and a national keynote speaker. Coming up to this event, I was like, man, I gotta look really good. I know he's doing the MBSRA. I'm gonna go get me a nice suit. I went to Nordstrom, got fitted, and so I'm like, I got him. I'm gonna get him. And then I tagged it on Facebook. So I get up this morning. I'm staying at the Radisson Hotel. And I walk out, and there's this lady walking these, probably $2,000 poodles. I step in the biggest, gigantic, if you already know where I'm going, I step in a huge pile, get it on my pants, shoes, and then I have to run in. I'm running late, and I'm like, Craig got me again. He got me again. So without further ado, want to introduce Mr. Craig Felker himself.
It's about to get wild.
I got to set my timer because these guys made fun of me yesterday, and they said, you got more slides than all of us put together, but what I got is some meat for you to eat. So get your pens out because we're going to bring some value this morning. Stuff that if you'll look in and you'll follow me and we walk through this, you're going to hopefully walk away understanding that a little bit of poo is just a nutty opportunity, right? Because, and I love that, Andrew, the obstacle is the way. Now I got 30 minutes, but we're going to rock and roll. Kyle, I'm going to give you that. So how are we doing this morning? Okay, all right. I didn't know conditions. I didn't know if you're going to start talking about some medical. I do have an autoimmune. I'm like, what's he talking about? So let's get wild this morning. Wild is kind of my thing, and we're going to get into that. But all of this is around the idea that you are in more control than you think. And I want you to walk away today with some real tangible, actionable things. We're not going to talk about process, Shannon, but I am going to give you some steps. I'm going to give you some meat. I'm going to give you some questions, and we're going to do some auditing. So if anybody in here leads teams, and I just want to say it right out of the gate, every one of you in here is a leader and a follower. You're one of the two at different times, but you're leading somebody somewhere. And if you're in sales, you better be leading people, right? Yes, sir. So my hip-hop name is C Money. I'm here because I want you to not see money, but maybe see money. I want you to grow because things that don't grow die. Amen? So come on, let's get this. I saw this quote the other day. The world accommodates you for fitting in, but it only rewards you for standing out. Does that resonate? In the sea of same, and man, there is a lot of same in the shed industry. Being different wins. And I'm going to tell you the most wild thing. Each of you are one of one, and there is no one like you in the world. No one. There is no copy. There's only one you. And so when you are truly yourself, you will be different. And that's what I love to see people do. Come alive, truly be themselves, and be different. And you need to stand out in this industry. This industry, sales, is about standing out. Okay, so who the heck am I? Man, that slide transition is next level. I appreciate that. He already told you a little bit about me. The one thing that I want to make sure you hear is I'm a big fan of disruptive marketing. Not different for the sake of different, but different for the sake of being alive. Because people who are themselves are alive, they're free, they're probably not closing the blinds, right? They probably have an energy because they're passionate, they have a purpose, and they know their why. So we're going to talk about that. This is how I spent most of my adult life. That was back in the day. You guys remember when bands were cool, rock bands were cool, when you had a tie? No, some of you are like, no, it was never cool. Come on, y'all. We were cool, man. This is cool. Look at that. That's my mom in the front row with her hand up. It's kind of a manly hand. It's my dad, actually. Sorry. Kyle likes to make fun of me. This is when he says I was in a Mormon band. I don't think I was. But we'd love to talk to you about the Lord. That was in Haiti, actually. And this is what Dylan really likes. So when I joined the industry, as you can probably imagine, I spent most of my adult life on stage. But the stage has changed throughout my life. What hasn't changed is caring and loving people, right? How do you communicate with people, whether it be 200 people in a room talking about sheds and sales, whether it be 10,000 people on stage talking and singing about hope, speaking about good news. And by the way, all of this is good news, and that meant the world to me that you said that. Because if you'll listen close enough, you're going to hear the gospel in this. It's just good news when you talk about caring for people. But the reason that I'm probably here today is because 8 years ago, when I joined the industry, I worked on the manufacturing side, and I dared to be different. In fact, I just dared to be me. A guy said, hey, we need to have a jingle. So, as any middle-aged white dude thought, let's just do some hip-hop for the industry, right? And so, wrote a song called Flawless. It's a hip-hop song about sheds. 16's on center. That's why we flawless. And that alone, some of y'all looking it up. Don't look it up right now. Look it up later. It's ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as you think it is. But when you do hip-hop, you can kind of brag, but nobody take it seriously, but you're kind of bragging, right? You can kind of talk about quality in a different way. And everybody's talking about quality, but ain't nobody got this, right? This, as silly as this was, and people didn't understand it, they didn't believe it. Even the people, the videographers, their employers were like, this ain't going to work. Well, not only did it work, we broke every sales record for the next 3 weeks after that, right? It became sort of our anthem and theme. And, is it for everybody? No, but it stood out. And because of that, quite frankly, I was asked to be a keynote last year as a homecoming back into the industry because I left for 4 years, right? And now I'm at JMAG, Chief Brand Officer, back in the industry because I miss y'all. I miss the pace. I miss the craziness. I miss just how quick, how Wild West this industry is. And I want you to stand out. Does everybody need to do a hip-hop video? No. Does everybody need to be me? No. But if you can get the courage and audacity to be yourself, dang, man, that's going to be exciting. So come on, let's get going. Johnny Cash says this. He said, the one that you're calling wild are going to be the leaders in a little while. Any Johnny Cash fans? Come on now. Some of you are like, we're not allowed to listen to Johnny. He was a rebel. Let's just be honest about it. He was. But man, so when you think about wild, give me a word to describe wild. When you think wild, what do you think? Brave. Woo. What else? Come on, give me some words. Outside the lines. In the back, give me words. Don't get scared, just say them. You don't even have to raise your hand. I don't care what you think. Dang, that's a lot of words. I appreciate the phrase. Anybody else? Red sequins, yes, for sure. That's wild. Anybody else? Bold, love it. Here you go. Listen. Usually there's one person in the room that says, not trustworthy. I'm like, we have therapists for that. Come on. People that are wild, they're free, they're empowered, they're alive. That's what I want to do today for you. Take it. There you go. I want you to walk away from this knowing that you're actually in control of some of these things, right? When Dylan steps in the poo, he's got two choices. Make moves or make excuses. That's a hip-hop line. But what he could have done was come here and be like, Instead, you walk back, you dust yourself off, and now you got a story, right? You're in control. The obstacle is the way. Okay, so how the heck do you lead with energy? So I'm all about this wild concept. I'll break it down. It's an acronym. Wild is about worth. Your work is not your worth. Your sales numbers is not your worth. Your worth is preset before the foundations of the world, right? Come on, if you know your worth, you can surrender, right? You ain't got to be loud. You ain't got to post on social media, my opinion is this. You can serve, and the best people who know their worth can listen well. And all the sales is listening well. We're going to get into that. When you can know your worth, you can intentionally communicate, you can listen well, you can L, lead with energy, you can D, dare to dream. That's wild, right? So, we're going to talk specifically focusing on the L piece of energy today and wild energy. Because I had a friend recently say, we want you to bring that energy. And so I'm literally going to bring the energy to y'all today. So get ready. Let's go. Energy's this. You're either giving it or taking it. Raise your hands if you know anybody in your life that's an energy sucker. I call them vampire suckers. Right? Right? We all do. We all do. You better not be that person if you're in sales. You need to be given energy, right? It's part of it. Because your energy introduces you before you even speak. It does. I don't know half of you in this room. I've seen a lot of new faces. I got some old faces I hadn't seen in a while, Lee in the back. But y'all don't know me. A lot of y'all don't know me. That was awesome, but I just met Andrew yesterday. And he's I don't know Andrew. I just met him. Great dude. About 15 minutes with him. He just, the advocate, he's going to bring the energy. He's going to, come on. He'd introduced me before I even spoke to y'all. That's my business card, y'all. It's your business card. And I want you to have the best business cards. Okay. So, Craig, it's an acronym. Acronyms help people remember things. All right? Get your pens ready. All right? Because they're going to do a little self-audit right here. E is for energy. So I'm literally going to bring the energy, right? E is for enthusiasm. And I'm going to tell you something. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. You go to my LinkedIn page right now. It's probably on my wall or somewhere. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Because if you're not enthusiastic, you're probably not passionate. You're probably not really into what you're doing. If you're not really into what you're doing, guess what? You're probably not going to be very good at it. Just being honest. And there are two obstacles that are going to stand in the way of your enthusiasm. And that is one, a lack of belief in yourself and or a lack of belief in what you're doing. So I want you to get your pens ready because I'm going to ask you, we're going to take 1 minute and I'm going to ask you to write some stuff down. But let me tell you a quick story. When I came into this industry, all my family union pipe fitters, anybody think I'm a builder? No. Absolutely not. Didn't know a thing about the shed industry. My buddy calls and says, you need to take this call. I said, no, I don't. And he said, Craig, shut up and take the call. I took the call, and the rest is history. 2017 is when I joined this. 2015 when I joined this industry. Wasn't a whole lot of online stuff happening, but guess who did online sales? Guess who sold nearly $1 million in online sales back in the day? Not building anything, right? Did I know? No. Did I immerse myself? Yes. See, you're in control. I didn't know how to build a shed, didn't know anything about it. What I did know is that if I brought it to light and said, I don't know what 16s on center even means, right? And I went to the builders and said, what the heck does that even mean? Now all of a sudden I know. And when you don't know what you're doing, what do you not do? You don't talk about it. It's in your way, right? You just shy away from it. But you're in control if you can acknowledge it. And there is a thief coming to lie, kill, and steal, and destroy to tell you you're not good enough. Well, Craig, you've never sold a shed, you've never built a shed, you can't sell a shed. It's a liar. You got to get that stuff out. So, Kyle, give me some music. In the next minute, I want every one of you, take your phone. I want you to acknowledge right now something in your life a lie that you're believing about yourself. And one, lack of belief in what you're doing. All right. Somebody be bold. Somebody give me some vulnerability right now. What's one thing?
I've failed too many times to be successful now.
Whoo! I've failed too many times to be successful now. Do you believe that? Apparently. I know you and I, we don't, you know that's not true, right? But if you don't put these things down, now I would even tell you to get more granular. Failed at what? Right? You get more granular with that. Now we can talk about what is in your power to make sure that you have the support, the encouragement, the knowledge you need so that doesn't happen again. I'll tell you a quick story. I had I spent 4 years in banking, which is even more hilarious than being in the shed industry. I was the director of client experience. I had about a team of 40 people. We had a leader. She was young, mid-20s, scared, knew it all. Everybody followed her. Everybody came to her for knowledge. She was the best with people. The branch experience manager was going to be out. The backup was out. She was going to get her chance for leadership, right? And she was scared, so scared. I said, okay, here's an idea. Take the 10 worst things you think that can happen to you, write them down. Go do that. She did that. She came back. I said, okay, Doris Ann, your branch experience manager, help her develop a plan for these 10 worst things that could happen to you, right? She said, oh, by the end of the day, she had her worst 10 things that could happen to her. She had what she would do, a step-by-step plan if that thing happened. And guess what? She led for a week. Within 6 months, was promoted, and has now moved into an entirely different department up the chain because she dared to acknowledge the thing that was the obstacle. She stopped this lack of belief, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. She acknowledged what she didn't know. Boom, she grew. Don't let a thief come in the night or in the day and rob you and tell you a lie and you hold on to it. Because at the end, the obstacle is the way. It's the way with your customers. If you'll listen, their objection is your opportunity if you listen well. So be intentional. This is bold and crazy. But in energy, your enthusiasm, it's actually your choice. We're not leaving this up to fate. It's actually something in your controllable choice. Are y'all tracking with me? Willie, we doing good back there? We good over here in the back? J-Mac team, we good? Woo, okay, here we go. And this is where we're going to get real crazy. It's your niche. And what makes you different? Somebody give me something. What makes you different? I want to specifically hear from you. What makes you different? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, I'm looking at you, Peter, for sure. Personality. Eddie, what about your personality? Outgoing. Keep going. What else makes you uniquely different? How about you were a lead singer of a rock band in the 80s? I'm serious. Listen, you're the metal dealer rep. You're the heavy metal dealer rep and you care heavily. I'm dead serious. Think about that. Eddie's a dealer rep, but if he would brand himself as the heavy metal dealer rep because he cares heavy, how many of you would remember Eddie a lot more? Would y'all remember Eddie? We do a 15-second short, Shannon, and guess what? Dude would be the talk of the shed show. He'd be like a little celebrity walking around. We get him a little mullet hair, and a little thing who walk around. He probably gained J-Mag about 3 more manufacturers. We're like, we need that guy, man. That dude looks fun. That's my guy. I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm going to say this. Might step on some toes, but some of you got some boots on. You're good. Quality is nothing because every one of you in here has a quality product. It means nothing. I'm not saying it means nothing because some of us know what real, like true, like real, built like a house. I mean, that's saying it better, to be honest with you. When we say quality, what are we saying? Everybody says quality. Everybody says, I care for people radically. You know, everybody. You guys got to think a little different. I'm going to show you something that's different. You guys heard of the Savannah Bananas?
Terry, thank you as always, man.
Jesse
as
Cole.
I was up here, I thought I might as well just send you a video. We're getting ready to rock here. 41,000 fans. Your support since the beginning, man. Appreciate it more than you know. Hope to see you soon.
This guy, Savannah Bananas, they have a waiting list of like 3 million, right? Something crazy like that. Jesse's on a mission. They're on a mission to make baseball fun again. Right? That was before Trump, by the way. Seriously. They think baseball is boring. They think baseball is boring. So if you go to banana ball, which they created their own game, right? You go to banana ball, you hit a foul ball, and the fans catch it. Guess what? They're out. There's no walking. There's a 2-hour time limit. You can't bunt, right? There's a dancing ump. Everybody's dancing. There's grandmas. There's a grandma cheerleading squad. It's crazy, man. It's a circus and a baseball game shows up. That's real talk. He's in a yellow tux. He wrote a book called Stop Standing Still, Stand Out. So Jesse came about 6 years ago, connected with me and my buddy Terry, who this video was sent to. And on this night, he is at the Houston ballpark. I think it's Minute Maid Ballpark. Their first night in banana ball in a major league stadium, which sold out, right? Terry, one of my dear friends at Paducah Bank, was a huge believer. Quite frankly, I'm here on this stage because in some ways of that guy. Terry goes to a workshop, meets this guy, they become friends. I end up working and collaborating with Jesse, and the rest is kind of history. But here's the point. Jesse could have sent a text message, y'all, to Terry saying, thanks for believing in me. Instead, he took 15 seconds, did a video, shot it to Terry, and guess what? This is probably the 5th time I've shared this in a presentation. So probably 2,000 people have seen this and heard about this. If he sends a text message, how many people hear about it? 1 or 2, right? Here's a takeaway. Send a video to your people. Hey, thanks for coming in today. Because write this down. You better start getting the right cell phones and you better start getting their emails because we're going to get more sophisticated. And on the back end of what all of us are doing, we're going to start communicating with them the way they communicate, the way you communicate in life, and that's text message. So if you put your email address, guess what? They're not going to get communicated with. They're going to be a problem. They're going to call you back. That's just a takeaway that's not even in the slide sermon. Email, cell phones are really important going forward as we communicate differently with people. But man, how simple is this? Banana ball. They want to change the world. They have 3 million people on the wait list. They have more social media followers than all the major league teams combined. The professionals. It's crazy, y'all. Here's what he says. Find the best version of yourself, the one thing that makes you stand out, and turn it up and amplify it. Turn it up and amplify it. Okay. E, engaged. I got to keep going. Engaged. Self-audit time. Give me a little music, Kyle. I want you to be honest with yourselves here. We're going to be real quick. How physically present are you? Presence is what wins. Are you physically present? 2, how socially present with you are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself. How welcoming is your space? You got 30 seconds. I want you to legitimately rate yourself. 1 out of 10. 10 is I'm crushing it. 10 is I'm crushing it. 1 is I ain't even present. Right? I'm seeing some of you. Rate yourself. Hey, and if some of you are not like, I'm not at a lot. This applies, period. Presence is what matters. Got 10 seconds because we got to keep moving. Told you I need that 30 minutes. All right. I'm not even going to ask you for that, but I want you to legitimately audit yourself because I'm telling you this, it's going to be hard for you to sell if you're not present. If you're doing multiple things, why? So, and I'm saying this, like, it's okay to do multiple things, but just know it's hard to serve 2 masters, right? So if you're doing multiple things, make sure that you're present with what you're doing here. And I'm going to end with why, so just know that we're coming back to that. R, rapport. You got to build it. Trust is everything. I've been married 20 years. The reason I stayed married to my wife for 20 years is because there is a trust. It's a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. And there are 2 things that are going to move trust quickly. And in our world, we need trust to happen very quickly. I mean, quickly. What are those 2 things? Competence, kindness. Your competence, going back to the the enthusiasm. Your competence is in your control, right? It's in your control. Do you know what you're doing? If you don't, have enough vulnerability, have enough worth to say, hey, help me. Mark, help me. Help me, I don't know. Help me learn how to sell cardinal buildings. I don't get it. Y'all do what is lap siding? I don't know lap siding. Tell me, because I want to sell it. I don't even want to sell it. I just want to know what it is so that when my people talk about it, when I'm asking questions and I hear it, I know how I can competently and kindly let them know what we do and what we offer. Because here is the truth. Selling is not about convincing. It's about finding out what the customer wants and giving it to them at a profit. Can anybody relate to that? Anybody believe it? Norman believes it. Anybody else believe it? Raise your hand if you believe that. It ain't about selling, y'all. There ain't no tire kickers. Change your culture, change your language. If they come to the lot, if they come and see you, if they ask, they're not kicking tires. There's a reason they pulled up. Listen well enough, care about them enough, listen well enough to understand why. Okay, you ready for the 3 questions? I'm going to give you 3 questions that's going to rock your world. This is good for pretty much just about anything, but I'm going to give you 3 questions, sales questions. This is some meat right here. Question number 1, somebody comes. What is your desired situation? You can frame it a little differently, but what is your desired situation? Why is that question important? That question is important because you need to dream with the people that you talk to. Dream with some people, y'all. You get them dreaming, man. Now all of a sudden, that's life, right? Jason, if I care about you, I want to know what you're trying to build, what you're trying to do. You've already told me yesterday something you're trying to build, right? Now I got to get in. Tell me more. Tell me more. Not because because I care. What is your desired situation? Care enough to dream with them, because if you do, they will probably trust you. Number 2, so simple, y'all. Hey, what obstacle is going to keep you from the dream? Hey, what would keep you from that dream? Like, I need this because I got to keep my ATVs, and I want to keep them out of the rain. And gosh, I need 2 is what I need. What obstacles will keep you from that desired situation? We good? Number 3, what's the cost of keeping it the same? Dream, what's in the way? What's the cost of keeping it the same? Somebody say, Craig, if you want a bonus question. Craig. Do you want a bonus question? Craig. Give me a bonus question. Give me a bonus question. Thank you, appreciate that. What else do you want? People don't have because they don't ask. They don't have because they don't ask. What else do you want? Here's a bonus to your bonus. What else do you want? Tyler, what else do you want? And you keep asking what else they want and dreaming with them until they say, I think that's it. Guys, it's not hard, but it does require you to listen well and ultimately respond creatively. Magic Castle, Darren Ross, CEO, said that. You want to be remembered, you want to be different, you listen well, you respond creatively. Terry, hey buddy, just want to thank you for believing in me. He responded differently. Gratitude is the G. I got to move. Here's the truth. Gratitude will shift you to a higher frequency and you will attract much better things. Grateful to be here today with each of you. Grateful for this industry. Grateful for the fact that we can talk about good news and we can talk about helping other people and caring. That's one thing that is just next level, and that's the reason I'm back in this room. It ain't like that in banking, y'all. It's not. I'm not going to spend too much time on JMAC, but I want to say this. That's who we are, relentless growth. We're always grateful. This is a core value. We're always grateful and always seeking new ways to innovate and amplify the lives of the partners we serve. In general, come see us at the Shed Show. We're actually throwing an over-the-top carnival. There'll be prizes. It's not about us. It's about celebrating the industry and inviting you to a party. And we're going to throw a good party because we love people and we love this industry. Not just Circle E, not just our partners, not just Cardinal. We love this industry because there is no lack, y'all. There's plenty out there for all of us. Why? Know your why. So, energy. It's in your control. It's your enthusiasm. It's knowing how you're different, your niche. It's really looking at how you're engaged, because if you're engaged and you care, I promise you're going to win. It's rapport, knowing how to ask the right questions, right? I'm going to do a lot of focusing on questions in the future. Gratitude and why. Why are you in this room? Literally, why are you in this room? We're in this room because, JMAG, we're believers. We're dreamers. We have an unwavering belief in the people we serve. We commit to life-changing partnerships that build a legacy that lasts. And I'm a big believer in your legacy, not JMAG's legacy, right? Serious. We can all grow together. How are we? We good? Meat? Do we get some meat? I know it's a lot. There's a lot there. I'm happy to share a lot of things with you. If you thought this was decent, next week we're going to launch something. We're going to pump the hump called Wild Wednesday. That's a camel. He says he's got a shirt. He's literally, his shirt says, "I love Wednesdays for a reason." Every Wednesday we're going to drop a video. It's 3 minutes. It's going to be your weekly boost for leadership, sales, culture. You know, how do you write? This is the one question. It's going to be 3 minutes. It's going to be short. It's going to be digestible. It's going to be wild. It's not even going to be JMAG. We're not even making there's no ads, no nothing. It's just about how do we help people grow. That's what we want to do. So here's a glimpse. If you're into that, it comes out next Wednesday. That's why we call it Wild. It's Wednesday, WINS, because we want to help you win the day. I want to help you win the day, right? Not just today, but every day. So thank you guys so much. Here's a little taste of what that might look like. Got to pop in the VHS. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
It's about to get wild. It's about to get wild. It's about to get wild.
All right, so next up, we've got Mr. Gary Boyle. He is CEO, multi-million-dollar furniture company, founder and CEO of Making Sales Simple, and he has been involved in the shed industry since 2011. Guys, would y'all give him a round of applause?
Coming in.
All righty, thank you so much. It is good to be here, and man, I have gotten so much information already from Craig and from Andrew, and I am excited to be here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I've got hopefully some interesting stuff that you guys can take home with you and learn from and be able to take your team to the next level. And I hope that I'm speaking to whether you're a sales trainer, you have a sales team, or whether you're a salesperson yourself, you are here today to learn something that can take your team to that next level and with some wild energy. Now, just a little food for thought here. You should have called me. I could have brought up my camel. I do have 2 camels at my house. And we can maybe get a picture and send them to you for your Wild Wednesday. But I literally have 2 camels. Don't ask me why. Ask my son. It's his girlfriend's. And we have 2 camels that roam the pasture in our house. And they're actually really friendly. But we'll have to get some pictures and send them to you. And we can bring them to the next shed show. But anyways, let's get on with talking about selling like there's no tomorrow. And you know, no man is promised another day. We're only promised today that we have, and we're not promised tomorrow. And so we have to have that same mindset. Going back to Andrew, what he talked about earlier is the mindset of selling like there's no tomorrow. You may not get a second chance. You may not get another opportunity to have the opportunity to be able to talk to that customer. And so to help illustrate this, I want to take you back, and I want you to imagine with me playing a childhood game. Now, for some of you, this is going to be easy. Some of you are going to have to go pretty far back looking at the room, and so hopefully you can think that far back. But how many people in the room have ever played this as a kid? When you were young, you played this game. You gather all your siblings around, and you would play the game, The Floor is Lava. Anybody like that, play that game? Okay, so you're thinking back when we would play this game. Now, for those of you who didn't raise your hand, you don't know what this game is. The way the game was played is you would call all your siblings. Of course, we had a lot of siblings growing up. And you would say, the floor is lava, and you would give a countdown. 3, 2, 1. And as soon as you did that, everybody would run and find a piece of furniture to jump on. And so you would jump on the dining room table. You would jump on the living room sofa. You would jump on the cabinets in the kitchen. You would hang from the chandelier. And the first person that touched the floor would die an excruciating death into the lava pit. And we would find out which sibling, which brother or sister could make it around the room without touching the floor. Now that I explained it, anybody else, we have a few more that maybe have played this game. Anybody else know it? All right, well, there's just a few of us. Well, the sales floor has this lava trap. And as we go and we talk to our customers, we have to avoid these traps, just like that childhood game as we would swing from the chandelier, from the sofa to the dining room table, avoiding the lava that was beneath our feet, and our imaginations as children would run wild as we would imagine being falling into that pit and dying of that excruciating pain. Well, what are these lava traps that I'm talking about on our sales floor? Because let me tell you something, it happens to every single one of us, whether we like to admit it or not. That customer walks into our store, and I think of the first lava trap that we fall into is our business card. The customer walks onto our shed lot, and the first thing they ask for is a business card. And we think, oh, and reluctantly we walk into our office, we grab our business card, and we hand it to them. We turn around, we walk away, never to see that customer ever again. How do we get our mindset changed when that customer walks into our store and they ask us for that business card? How do we change that into a positive engagement? You know, I think back to 2011 when I first got into the shed industry. I had a salesperson I was trying to train, and he had this problem. Every time a customer would ask for a business card, he would gladly give him his business card. In fact, he gave out so many of them, he asked me for more. But the sales were not happening. He was just passing out business cards. I would imagine that our competitors are the ones that collected those business cards from him. And so they had plenty of them. So I would go to our competitors and I would get more of his business cards and I'd bring them back and I'd give them to him. No, I wouldn't do that. I would order him more business cards. And I begin to think, how can I change his mindset to begin to think differently about that business card interaction? And so I came to him and I said, hey, I have an idea. What I want you to do, instead of selling sheds, I don't want you to sell sheds anymore. And he kind of looked at me kind of the way you're looking at me right now. What do you mean you don't want to sell sheds? No, I don't want you to sell sheds. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to, every time a customer walks into this shed lot, I want you to gather 2 pieces of information. I want you to gather their name, and I want you to gather their phone number. Because this particular salesperson told me that everybody is just looking. No one's buying sheds anymore. And I said, that's all I want you to do. And for doing this, I am going to reward you. I'm going to give you $5 for every customer's name and phone number you can get me. He thought, you serious? That's all I have to do is get their name and phone. That's it. You don't even have to sell sheds anymore. That's all I want, the name and phone number. So about a week goes by, I follow up with him. I come back to his office and I say, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh man, you won't believe this. I've got like 20 names and 20 phone numbers. And I'm like, great. Now we're going to sit down and we're going to teach you how to follow up with these customers. And you know what began to happen? Unexpectedly, little did this person know, sales begin to go up. Why? Because we begin to be able to service our customers. Just like Craig was talking about just a few moments ago. Hey, the industry's changing. We're going to have to gather that phone number. We're going to have to gather that email address. We're going to have to gather this information to be able to service our customers. Because listen, let's admit it, I'm not a big fan of high-pressured sales. I'm not a big fan of twisting somebody's arm to make them buy my product. But I am a fan of building a relationship. I am a fan of adding value to that customer as they are involved in my business, and adding value to where when they decide to reach that summit, when they decide to pull the trigger and get to that top of that summit there and we close the deal, they have found value in what I have brought to the table. And that's what it's all about. You know what happens when we bring value like this to our consumers? They come back for more. They come back for more. And you know what you create? You create a raving fan. A fan that you can do no wrong. A fan that you care about. The other thing I like to teach our salespeople and our sales staff is this, is I want you to sell to whatever you're selling, furniture, sheds. I want you to sell as if you were selling to your best friend. I want you to have that same conversation. I want you to have that same idea, that same mindset as you're selling to them. And so when the customer walks in, they say, hey, I just want your business card. I want you to be able to get their name and their phone number. Now, how many people think it's really hard to get someone's phone number? Anybody like that? No one in the room. You guys all can get phone numbers? Okay. Well, one of the hardest things you have to do in order to get someone's phone number is what? You got to ask for it. That's all you have to do is just simply ask. One of the techniques I taught this particular salesperson was whatever area code I'm in. Now, we're in the 863 area code. Is when I would ask somebody for their phone number, I would simply have a piece of paper and I would say, hey, I found out this gentleman's name is Jared. And I would say, Jared, your phone number is 863. And I would just pause. And I'd wait for him to respond with that phone number. It's not a trick. It's a tool that I had in my toolbox that it allowed me. Now, the customer has two ways to respond, right? They can tell you, give you your phone number, or they can tell you, I'm not giving you my phone number. I'm not interested. I haven't found a building yet, whatever the case may be. And I am going to respond with what? I already know what's coming, right? Because in my mind, I've already prepared for this. I'm going to respond with, Mr. Jared, believe me, I don't want to call you just to harass you. The only reason why I'm gathering this information is if something changes on my end where I can provide more value to you, I want you to make an informed decision. And I'm helping Jared understand why I want this information. Because if you're not asking for it, your competitor is. And when the person who gets to the summit, the person who gets to the top, wins the sale. The next lava pit, as we swing from that chandelier and we're going from the dining room table to the kitchen cabinets and we are hoping not to fall in between. How many people have ever put this sign on their front door? Anybody? I've driven around to this competitor lots. I've seen them, so you might as well raise your hand. I know they're on your door. And in fact, I've seen them on our shed lot doors before. And this is the sign of death. This is the I don't care that you stopped in and took your time to look at our buildings. This is the sign of death. This is what I call the lava pit of the break. You've been sitting there all day. As Andrew mentioned earlier, you're playing Candy Crush, and you're on level 99. No customers have walked into your lot all day, and you're about to get to level 100. It's a quarter till closing, and you think, no one's been here all day. It doesn't make a difference if I put the sign up. I'm going to put, I'll be back in 15 minutes, and I'm going to go home early. Now, who do you think shows up on your lot 10 minutes before or 5 minutes after you leave? Your customer. Now, your customer, some of them will come back, but the majority of them will leave your lot. They'll go to your competitor where they're sitting there waiting, taking care of the consumer, building that relationship, and then you wonder why our sales are down. Why customers are not buying buildings anymore. Why we can't get our consumers. Now, that's the lava pit of the break. The other break that I'm talking about is the mental break. Now, Andrew touched on it earlier, is that mindset, that level 99, I'm almost to 100, and the customer pulls in. Oh, you kidding me? I was just about to get to level 100. Are you kidding me? I was just about to go to lunch. And just as Craig said, we walk out. Now, some of us may do this next step. We walk out, but our energy has already introduced ourselves as you are a bothersome, you are in my way, and we wonder why the energy they give back is a negative energy. You know, it's hard in sales sometimes to keep the mindset of a positive attitude, a positive energy. But you know what it takes? It takes work. You know, because everybody in this room, everybody, all your family, your friends, people that your competitors, we all get to see the result of the choices you made. We all get to see it. Whether they were good choices or bad choices, we all get to see the results of the choices you made. You know what we don't get to see? The choices that you had to choose from. Many of you have choices every single day. You're given choices whether you're going to keep a positive mindset, whether you're going to bring Wild Wednesday, you're going to listen to the energy that's been given, whether you're going to get to level 100 on Candy Crush or whether or not you're going to change your mindset and actually go to work. Because let me tell you something, part of selling sheds and part of selling any product requires this 4-letter word, and it's a dirty 4-letter word, and it's called work. And without it, everybody would be doing it. But what sets us apart? What sets our shed lot apart from our competitors? What sets us apart from our competitors? It is that idea that we care about our customers. It is the idea that we are wanting to build relationships with our customers, and all of that takes work. So let's avoid those pitfalls. Let's avoid those lava pits as we're navigating the shed lot. And the next lava pit that we talk about is the dirty word of objections. Now, how many people like objections? Anybody in the room like objections? Okay, there are a few weird ones out there, so you can raise your hand. There are a few that like objections. But for the most part, we don't like objections because we don't like to be rejected. No one likes rejection. Rejection is when someone disagrees with us and they don't want to do business with us, and so they give us an objection. So in order to avoid this lava pit, in order for us to jump from the kitchen cabinets to the dining room table to avoid the lava pit, we have to think ahead. We have to think, what objections are going to come out? What is this customer going to say? And just like Andrew mentioned earlier, rather than be defensive, let's give them the objection, let's overcome that objection, and let's give them some value, building that relationship. Now, here's what I don't want. As I teach our sales team, I don't teach robots. Just like Craig was saying, hey, listen, be yourself. That is huge. And it sounds simple, but it's huge. Be yourself. When you're talking to your customer, be yourself. Customers want to do business with somebody that is a human. We don't want a checklist. How are you? How old are you? What kind of car do you drive? We can come up with a checklist of all the questions you can ask, but that's a robot. Find what makes you different. Just like Craig was talking about earlier, find what makes you different and avoid avoid this pitfall of being worried about the objections rather than embrace them. And the last one, the last lava pit that we're going to do is the follow-up. Now this one here, a lot of people I have found, salespeople, avoid at all costs. Now, we have talked about the industry changing. We want to gather phone numbers and email addresses and be able to text them and send them a video. You cannot do this without that information. One of our videos on our training program is, we call it the Be Back Bus. This is where the Be Back Bus never comes back. How many people have, I'll be back. And the customer tells you, I'll be back, I'll be back. Does that bus ever show up at your lot? It never shows up because it stopped at the next lot, it let the consumer off, and they got taken care of at the next lot, and so they're no longer a customer. They are shopping at your competitor and getting taken care of. So follow-up is huge. If, for whatever reason, you're not able to make it to the summit on the first try, you're not able to close the deal on the first try, you've got to set some time for follow-up. Now, follow-up could be a video. You send them a personal video to their cell phone. Follow-up could be you send them a personal email. Follow-up could be you drive out to the customer's house to get some measurements to make sure that that building is going to fit on their piece of property. Whatever the case may be, it's you. There's no secret sauce on follow-up. Be yourself on this. Follow up with that customer. And then the second part of this is follow up after the sale. A lot of us don't like following up after the sale is because we're afraid that they're going to tell us something's wrong. You know, the best time to take care of a customer, and the raving customers come when we solve a problem. When we avoid the problem, this customer becomes a bigger problem than we can truly afford. Rather, if a customer has a problem, let's embrace the problem. Let's figure out how we can solve the problem together. You know, one of the things I teach our salespeople, no matter what the cost, let's take care of the customer. Why is that important? Because one bad customer can do far more damage than 10 great customers. Take care of your customer. And here's the other thing. If you have a problem, don't you want to know about it? As a salesperson, as an owner, don't you want to know where your problems are? Now, your salespeople, if you're an owner and you have salespeople that you train, they'll probably never tell you of those problems because they don't want to deal with them. But as an owner, you want to know every single problem and you want to be able to take care of it. You want to be able to shine when there's an issue. And this is what follow-up is all about. This is avoiding that lava pit. Because remember, our sales floor is lava. And we have to learn how to negotiate and be able to move around those lava pits to be able to get to the sales summit, to be able to get to the top, to be able to win. And when we get to the top, what do we get? We get victory. We've made it to the top. We've overcome all the obstacles. And now we get the sale. And this is what it's all about. This is where we get to take care of our customers. We've built a relationship. And now we can help that consumer make the right choice. We can help that consumer take care of their valuables at home that they're going to put into this building. It's all about helping the consumer. Think of sales differently. As Andrew talked about earlier, changing that mindset. Sales is not just about a numbers game and closing the next deal, closing the next deal. It's about taking care of every single customer, fostering that relationship that'll lead to greater and greater success. Success will come when you take care of your customer. Thank you so much. Looking forward to see you guys on the sales floor.
Love it. Love the outro. I love the outro. I remember hearing this story. I'm sure many of y'all have, but there was the owner of Lamborghini. He was best friends with this major TV director. And the TV director owned an advertising agency as well. And he always asked him, why don't you ever make commercials? And he said, because our clientele do not watch TV. And I was like, that always sat with me. And it just kind of always sat with me. And it showed that, like, how they made themselves different. And then you start thinking about, think about some of you all business owners in here, I don't watch TV. I don't have time to watch TV. Raise your hand if you do not have time to watch TV anymore, to be honest. Just where we're at. We're grinding. We're busy. So that leads me into our Q&As. We're going to start bringing everybody up and welcome the panelists. Now, the first person that I'm going to introduce, this was a bit of a leeway, Mr. Jason Graber. So, did anybody follow his story when the hurricane rolled in where he lives? Did anyone follow that story? Did you? Okay. So I'm glad that it made it through, and I was worried about it this week. But Jason, great guy, good friend of mine, founder of Shed Suite. He operated a shed manufacturing facility, producing an eye-opening $4 million worth of inventory per year, and he's been in the shed industry 17 years. So everybody give him a round of applause. Sit wherever you'd like, Jason. Sit wherever you'd like. All right. Our next Q&A panelist is going to be Mr. Peter Boyle. He is the owner and operator of multiple shed lots, co-founder of Making Sales Simple, diversified and entrepreneur managing and multiple rental properties, showcasing diverse business skills. Everybody give him a round of applause, okay? Ah, yes, the one and only, blends right in, Miss Susan Frere, the Shed Gal herself, the host of Magnificent Mondays on the Shed Geek podcast. She is the founder of Shed Gal. I don't even remember your real name sometimes, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And she has some supersized display lots across multiple states, a lot going on, you got a lot going on, and I know a little about it. It's just a lot. Praise the Lord. All right. So our next one, we are going to be bringing up Kyle Summers. Kyle with JMag. So Kyle is the CMO of JMag. He's a key member of the NBSRA event planning committee. 7 years in the shed industry as a sales and marketing professional, and the co-founder of the influential Shed Geek podcast. All right, and the last one is Mr. Peter Miller. Peter, come on up. So, Peter owns shed lots all in Florida and Georgia. Columnist for the Shed Business Journal. He's a visionary and co-founder of the Shed Sales Summit, right where we're at, and the co-founder of Making Sales Simple. So, What we're going to do is we've, over the last month or so, we've had a few people submit some questions. And what we're going to do, we're going to watch time on this. But we've got some people that have submitted some questions online. So we're going to go through those first. And then if you're feeling froggy, we've got somebody that's going to, come around with a mic if you all have any questions that you would like to ask the panelists. We can do it a few ways. If you want to ask a question to a certain panelist, or maybe one will leeway off the other, and we'll just have to kind of watch time on all this, okay? So we first question is, and I know this gentleman, Willie Bricker from North Mountain Structures. His question, what is the top 3 things to look for when hiring a shed sales professional? Who wants to take it first?
I'll go first. I just want to state it's great being the only woman here, by the way. I feel like a unique model on the lot, fully customized, comes with the extras, and definitely the most stylish. Top 3 things in hiring people. I look for personality. The most successful folks that I've had run my lots have not been quote unquote salespeople. Can you hear me in the back okay? Okay. So we always get that. I've never been in sales, so I hire on personality. I think more importantly than that is the willingness to be teachable. That is huge. People are very, very set in their ways. And this industry is changing very fast. Being teachable is really important. And then we're going to go back to number 1. Number 3 is they have to have a great personality. So those really are the 2 things that are most important to me, even though you asked for 3.
Yeah, very well. So there's a follow-up question from the same gentleman. What are the top 3 red flags when interviewing someone for a sales role?
You want me to?
Anybody can take it.
All right, so I would say when you're looking at somebody, when they come to the interview, you want to make sure that they're on time, because...
Now, what if they step in dog poo on the way?
Well, they're going to smell like dog poo, I guess, on the way.
Fair enough.
If you have time, you left early. My dad always said, arrive 15 minutes early and you're never late. So showing up on time. If they don't show up on time, that's a red flag. And then going back to what Susan said, the personality, you can kind of feel that energy, as Craig was saying, as soon as they step into the room, what their energy is. If they're on their phone and they're not paying attention to you as the interviewee, that's a big red flag. And then basically the ability to listen to what you say and then ask them that question back later. See if they're listening to that. If they have no idea what you said, that's a red flag to me. They're not paying attention. They don't care about the job enough. They're just trying to, maybe this person will hire me. So kind of going off of what she said, teachable, teaching somebody, if somebody's not teachable, you're not going to be able to go very far. You can only go so far with somebody before you're just dragging them around and you're losing the battle at that point.
I just want to say that I feel like I'm on a weird episode of The Bachelorette right now. And I better get a
forgot your
rose.
rose.
That's all I'm going to say. But to follow up, I told my salespeople this: your best ability is your availability.
Ooh.
So be there, So you got to be available.
Love it. Awesome. We're going to move on to the next one. How important is follow-up in the shed selling process? Something we've already touched on. Let's just drill it in. Who wants to take it?
It's very, very valuable. So I have a little bit of experience selling sheds. In 2016, I sold sheds at a dealership for a year and a half. And that I would not let a person leave my lot without getting their phone number and their email address. And it resonated with me, exactly what they were talking about. A customer walks in, I'm just looking. That's fantastic. What I'd love to do for you is I'd love to get your phone number so that if I get anything on the lot new, I'd like to learn what you're looking for now, and I'd like to be able to give you an update when I get something that matches what you're looking for, whether you're interested today or down the road. And so I would go get them a brochure, a business card, and I would take down their information. I would put that into just a list of customers. I didn't have a very good CRM at the moment. I highly recommend a CRM now. That was 2016.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, we have a lot of good tools now. So use a CRM, but I would manually set a reminder for myself to follow up with that person the next day. The next morning I get to work, I see my list of reminders. I would text that customer, call that customer, hey, thanks for stopping in. I don't know if you're ready to make a decision or not. And I would pick a building. I would shamelessly, hey, we just got this. And even if it was 3 days ago, hey, I just got this building in. I think you might be interested in this one. And I'd send him a picture of it. I just go out, snap a picture. If this looks good to you, like, I'd love for you to come back in. Let's look at it. And so, I mean, that I was able to. I probably was the worst dealer there was, because I was building software at the time. So I was selling sheds and building software. And so I was like doing the bare minimum, but without trying, I was outperforming all the dealers in the area. And that's just because I cared about people and I followed up.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, follow-up is huge in sales, because we have more people that leave our lot than purchase on the first time. Mm-hmm. So, following up with them, you should follow up with them and basically until you get a no. Yep. Hey, I just decided we're not going to shed. We're going to move, whatever. Yep. Keep following up with that person. We've had customers actually with steel buildings. It takes a little longer. I don't know if everybody sells steel, but for steel buildings, it generally takes 3 or 4 times visits to the office before you finally get a sale. We've actually had people come back a year later with that same sales order in hand and say, I'm now ready, I want to buy that building. So follow-up is huge, and sometimes it does take a long time, but just keep following up that customer on it.
I had a customer recently. I haven't sold sheds since 2019, and this year they said that they were ready to buy a shed.
I remember.
I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing that no more, but I'll get you to somebody who is. Dealers and salespeople that don't follow up get marketing companies fired. Okay, so I'll say it again. Dealers and salespeople who don't follow up get marketing companies fired. I'm trying to help you out here, Dylan. Because, it's like, oh, they don't answer the phone. All these leads are bad. Well, are you actually calling them? Are you actually trying? Are you actually doing those things? Are you putting in the work? It's not COVID anymore. It's not easy. It's hard to sell right now. So you have to follow up.
I already know what you're going to say, Susan. So now there's a follow-up question on this. How many touch points have you found to be typical? And I don't know if you know how many touch points we have for you.
50.
There's quite a few, but to follow up on all that, and we work with Jason, and we do a lot of these automations, but there's different companies they kind of have a gauge on their aggressiveness. So that's how that works on, do you want to send a text first or an email first, or how do you want a phone call prompt first? So many ways to do it on the automations and things, but this could just go deep, and we've got a lot more questions, so we're going to move on. All right. Next question is, what is the best reply to a Facebook marketplace listing message that says, quote, can anybody finish the quote?
Is this still available?
Is this available? Somebody take it.
Everyone who has put a posting on Facebook has gotten this message. So, it's going to come in. You're going to get it, and it's really annoying. One of my favorite saying is complacency kills. So if you start getting to that point where you're like, oh, it's just a spammer, they're not going to buy. You don't know that. You don't know who's on the other side. It's a Facebook. You can just click, is this still available? Is this still available? Guess what? We're in the business of selling. We sell sheds. So they're sending us a message. Yeah, it took them just a second to click it, but respond back to that. One of the things that I would say is if you're on the lot, you would respond back, yes, it's still available. Then if it's a Facebook marketplace, you would be able to take it and maybe take a video of that shed and send it to them. Now you're trying to get that interaction. Open-ended question. So like, this is still available. Are you still looking for it? Does this fit in your backyard? Are you close to, we have a location in Florida. Are you close to Arcadia? that's one of our locations. We have free delivery, something to get them involved back into it. Now, the other thing that I would say is make sure that you're responding to those as quickly as possible. Is this still available? That is a potential lead. That's money in the bank. You just got to follow it up. How many of you go fishing? Anybody go fishing? How long does it take to catch a fish? How long does it take? It takes sometimes hours. Sometimes you don't catch anything. Sometimes you're just catching all day long. Do you give up? This is our job. This is where we make money. Don't give up. Use that. Is it still available? And go sell some sheds.
Yeah. Anyone want to follow up? I have just looked, and this is a whole paragraph, so I'm not sure if this is a question or a scenario, so let's just ride this out together. You have a customer and have built good rapport with him. You determine what he needs, and he's on board with everything. You determine the building style, size, colors, but when it comes to time to pop the question asking for the sale, he's like, oh no, I can't order today. My wife is the one that's going to be deciding the colors or whatever the objection may be with. Either way, he puts it back on his wife, making part or all of the decisions. So ultimately saying, I've got to go back and talk to my spouse. That's what it's getting at.
All right, I'll take this one.
Go for it.
Thank God we were doing a hot potato over here.
I've seen that. But, so on that one, obviously we should have been doing what Andrew said and getting that objection before you're asking for that sale. So before you're sitting down at the desk asking for that sale, we should have already seen that objection, already overcome it by getting that, him FaceTiming or sending pictures to his wife, trying to overcome that.
Yeah, very well.
I'd say, what's wrong? You can't make decisions for your... I'm just kidding.
Oh, my Lord. Hey, that's an Andy Elliott thing right there. He says, like, does she not trust you? I've watched that. I was like, man, my wife would be so mad at me, Okay, so.
We are building relationships.
We are. That's right. Not tearing them down. Next question is, what's the best reply to a phone call when the customer does not give their name or location and goes straight to, how much is your 8x10 shed?
The first thing I ask, it's amazing how many dealers don't actually introduce themselves when they answer the phone. So we always do that. But my first question is, what's your name? Nobody says I'm not going to give you the name. I have never, in talking with thousands of people, have someone say, I'm not going to give you the name. But I don't say, do you want to give me your name? So what's your name? How are you referred to us? I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I'm going to help you out. So ask, but ask in a way that it's not a yes or no. I don't have that problem. So I've had people say, well, they won't ever give me their name. And what I hear is, you never ask. And I'll tell you what, do a bunch of test calls and find out what your quote-unquote competition is doing, because most of them are not even introducing themselves, much less asking their name. And it's shocking. But you got to keep in mind, we aren't selling a $25 used auto part, folks. We are selling things that are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I will go toe-to-toe with anybody trying to convince me that someone that's going to spend that much money isn't going to give you their name if you just ask. So, that's my answer, but it works for us.
Yeah, very well. So we have about 5 minutes. I'm going to do one more from online, and then we're going to do maybe 2 or 3 questions, and we'll have to just kind of keep it quick, okay? So last one is going to be, how long is the average buying cycle for sheds? This is tough because this is economical, demographical.
Right. So I would say typically is either the first day or within a week. If they're going to get one, they're going to want it that soon. Every once in a while, you'll have someone that's coming in like, yeah, I'm looking for it in 6 months. But that's not typical. Typical is within 1 day and within 1 week. That's going to be your typical.
So statistically, if they're going to spend over $5,000, it takes them 6 months to actually purchase that. And I always tell people, you don't know when you're getting them in the process. You could get them on month 6 or you could get them on month 1. That's why the follow-up is so crucial during that process. So,
and I would say also, you're going to have rent-to-own options that they may not know about. or you may have traditional financing too, depending on what you have. So it's your job to listen to what they're telling you and give them the option to be able to purchase right then. You get them out of the market, you get some money down, a check, maybe a contract, a signed contract. Now they're not looking for a shed any longer. If they leave your lot and they haven't bought, they're still looking. That's where it goes back to the follow-up. So.
Okay, awesome. So I think we're going to just have time for 2 questions in the audience. If you want to ask a question, if you just want to raise your hand, and he's going to bring a mic around, somebody be bold. We need 2 good questions to kind of end this thing. 2 good questions.
Jason needs a question. He's only answered one thing.
Yeah, Jason does need a question.
That's a really great question. I mean, for me personally, when I started Shed Suite, my main objective was to empower the shed company. And the shed company is reliant on outside partnerships. That's just the fact of the matter, right? So they rely on dealers, they rely on drivers, and they rely on rent to own. And so we tried to create an environment that empowered the shed company to grow, but also leveraging the RTO. So what we see a lot of times, and we see it happening a lot in the RTO industry, is that rent-to-own companies want to partner with shed companies in a way that empowers you to grow. So what I would encourage you to do, if this is you and you're in this situation, that seek out a rent-to-own company that is willing to partner with you in a way that makes you the owner or part owner of that rent-to-own company. That's the best way that you can create a great relationship, because they need you. Obviously, you're building the buildings for them, and you don't know how to run rent-to-own, let's be honest, and they probably do. So finding a good partner that allows you to be a part owner and build that long-term asset, that long-term residual revenue stream, that's what we all want. And that's what, at Shed Suite, that's what we wanted to create, as an environment that helps the shed company create those partnerships that ultimately help you build wealth, right? Building wealth is building a residual revenue stream, and that is rent to own. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to see that happen, and I would encourage you, if you're that person, now some people just don't desire to be a rent to own company partner or owner, then don't. That's fine. Find a good rent to own company to work with, absolutely. But if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, you really want to grow an asset like a rent-to-own company, there are lots of rent-to-own companies that would love to partner with you, make you a part owner of that rent-to-own company, and build an asset for the long term, for the 10-year, 15-year long term.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We got time for one more quick question. I'm just going to call somebody out. He always has good questions. He already knows. Shannon Latham, why don't you ask a good question? This will be our last one. He's back there. He's got the nice hairdo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I love your barber. He does a good job. I don't know. I guess maybe a question that would come to mind for me immediately would be like a lot of salespeople can't get resources for training. Like, you might be a smaller company, there might not be enough resources. You might wear a lot of hats. You know, you're chief. Everything in the company. So like if you're a consignment lot or whatever, maybe the company hasn't provided you with actual training. There's no like sales associate's degree that I'm aware of, or at least maybe there's, that's coming, but a lot of us fall into sales. We don't like wake up and talk to the guidance counselor and say, I want to be a sales guy, I want to sell sheds. You kind of fall into it, but you don't receive any like good, proper training. Where can someone go outside of like making sales simple? Of course you should invest in that, but where can you go to get better just at your trade? Like, what would you guys suggest?
I'll start with this one. Long story short, I was told sheds sell themselves. Good luck. And I found out real quick that wasn't true. I think that your biggest resource in this industry is to reach out to those that are successful, because I haven't found a company yet that has a decent training program. That's my opinion. Great manufacturers doesn't mean they're a great trainer. So I'm going to answer it just from my opinion. Reach out to those. Pam, I see you back there. Many of you in here have reached out to me over the last few years. Reach out to those. When you see someone who's struggling, don't do anything they do. When you see people that are being successful, do what they do. There's no secrets. And I'll say this, put banners up at your lots, people, please. We're the only industry that, for some reason, we think that signage is not important. But reach out to those, and that's a little education piece to put signage up. But reach out to those in the industry. I think that's critical. There's a lot of really great people to help you.
Yeah. I just got one plug. I don't know. So have any of you guys heard of the Global Leadership Summit? So it's just look it up online, Global Leadership Summit. It's every year. It's simulcasted from Chicago. It's a fantastic opportunity. It's 2 days to sit in on some of the best leaders in the world, right? And so I think my advice for you is just invest in yourself. Invest in yourself in those type of situations. So go look up the Global Leadership Summit. It's every fall, and I'm not endorsed by it. It's just a great time to invest in yourself and grow as a leader.
I'd also say there's, on a smaller level, join the Shed Sales Professionals page on Facebook if you haven't.
Yeah.
You can gain a lot of knowledge from people in this industry and ask questions, and usually everyone's really nice on that. It's not like the holler page.
All right, guys, we're going to end it on that, okay? So y'all give it a round of applause for the Q&A. Hey, appreciate y'all. Appreciate the knowledge. I know a lot about a lot of them and just kind of where they all come from, and I love hearing the diversity, the different thinking processes. So, all right, so next up, this is going to be our keynote speaker. Mr. Rob Ball. So he's the co-founder of HFA Sales Academy, expert in the furniture sales industry, national keynote speaker, published insights in HF Business, Home Furnishings Association, and Furniture Today. And now we shall cue the music.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got
Yeah,
money
music's
on my
great.
mind, I can never.
How's everybody doing?
And every time I step up in the building,
All right, we can cut that
everybody
music.
hands go up.
You guys having fun? You guys ready to learn something? Well, guess what? I got to start with a little confession today. First things first, before I do that, raise your hand if you've ever sold a shed before. Just one. Well, that's one more than me, because here's the deal. Okay? I have never sold a shed before. I'm the only person in this room that's never sold a shed before. And so, with that being said, I am an expert in strategy. And what I do with companies is very simple. And this presentation is going to be a strategy session so you can take all the information that you've learned from these gentlemen and lady that have been up here today to apply to your business, okay? Because oftentimes when we get in a room like this, we sit down here, we listen to great speakers, and we go out there and we forget everything we learned. Raise your hand if you've ever done that. Absolutely, right? And so I know that I have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build a roadmap for success. So first things first, participation is mandatory. I know that the last speaker kind of had to bring some of that out of you guys. And so if you do not want to participate, now is your opportunity to leave. 4, 3, 2, 1. Great, fantastic. No. Now you're done. Sorry, buddy. So you guys are all going to participate. Now here's the deal. Nothing works 100% of the time, but it's important that we have to think outside the box. This is the strategy session, and I can tell you that I do not have the answers because I've never sold any sheds before. But I do know a lot about sales, and let's see if we can find some commonality between other industries that I've spoken for to your industry. Does that make sense? Is everybody with me, yes or no? Yep. Oh, my God. Is everybody with me, yes or no? Yes. There you go. Fantastic. Okay. So let me ask you this question. Do we believe that 2025 is going to be better than 2024? Yes. Okay. How was 2024? Was it bad? It was real bad. Furniture industry was really bad. Car industry, real bad. Housing industry, pretty bad, right? Mortgage industry, pretty bad. So we believe that 2025 is going to be better, yes or no? Yes, right? Okay. What I want to do is I want to change your ideology. Because if you know you're going to win, do you play all out? Chances are that you're not. You're going to show up and your expectation is to win. And so I'm going to flip that on its head. I want you to expect to win, but I want you to think and play the game as if all the cards are stacked against you. And I want you to think about what do we need to do to maximize our footprint. And here's a question for you. Are we maximizing our footprint right now? Are we the biggest and baddest shed salespeople in the industry in our DMA? Maybe some of us are, yes. But if the answer is no, then we have to construct a plan to maximize this future year. So here's my question for you. Is it possible to increase leads? Yes or no? Okay. Is it possible to increase your closing ratio? Yes or no? Fantastic. And is it possible to increase the average transaction value? Meaning if a person comes in, buys a shed that's $6,000, is it possible to increase that? Yes or no? Fantastic. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. A quick exercise. If you come to a sales summit like this, and if you did not come prepared with any kind of handwriting material, next time, please make sure you bring something to write the stuff down with. Because I know our memories are fantastic, but how can we possibly remember all the information that we've learned over the past 2.5 hours? So if you have a cell phone, please take a picture of this, do notes in your phone, but this is extremely important. So first things first, I want you to estimate your monthly sales. You don't have to do this right away, but when you get back home with your sales team. I want you to estimate your average transaction value. I want you to estimate your store closing percentage. So store closing percentage, very simply, if I have 100 ups that walks through the door and I close 10, my closing ratio is 10%. Exactly. And then your ups or opportunities. I call them ups in my industry. You might call them leads or clients. Anybody that walks onto your shed lot is a potential sale. Yes or no? 100%. Okay, so basically the way you can look into this, number one, raise your hand if you are tracking the amount of ups, the amount of opportunities that's going onto your shed lot every day, every week, every month. Raise your hand, raise them high. Okay, so here's the deal. Let me ask you guys this question. Who is the most important person in your business? Customer. Who is it? Customer. It's the customer, right? Raise your hand if you disagree with that so we can publicly accost you and kick you out of the room, right? The customer is the most important person in your business, yet only about 20 to 25% of this room raise their hand saying that they track it. Who's the most expensive person in our business? The customer, right? No question, because we spend money on marketing, we spend money on advertising, we spend money on our sales associates, we spend money on our shed lots and the leases and all the sheds that are on the sales floor, and all to appease the customer. So I can employ you guys from this day henceforth, and almost make you guys raise your right hand and promise me, I'm not going to do it, to track your customers. Because if we're not tracking the most important asset in our business, how can we possibly improve? So I promise you, let's track our ups. Okay, so let's do this as an exercise. So our example, a typical shed lot, and this is numbers that I've gotten from the panelists that were up here before, a few of them at least, an average sales lot does about $72,000 a month. Sound about reasonable? Has about 60 average opportunities per month. Average transaction value is $6,000, and a closing ratio about 20%. Now, I heard 20%, and I said, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, a minimum 20%. I was like, okay. So I sat at a shed lot for a day, and I saw one day be a 0% closing ratio. And I saw another day, 0% closing ratio. Then I saw 3 people walk on a shed lot, and then I saw 1, and I was like, hold on. And then I stayed there for a few more days, and I actually saw that it was somewhere around 10%. And again, the owner of the shed lot that I was speaking to thought it was 20%, but because they were not tracking their ups, they had absolutely zero idea. All they had was the word of the salesperson. Now, has anybody ever heard of an honest salesperson? Now, let me ask you this question. You ever had a salesperson lie to you? Yeah, absolutely. Listen, boss, it's been dead all day. We haven't seen anybody. Now, I don't know if this meeting is sponsored by Candy Crush or what, but I heard that a few times. But they're probably just playing Candy Crush. They're not paying attention to the customers that are walking through the door. So it's very important to make it a part of your strategy, and I can't drill this enough, to keep track of your ups. Okay, closing ratio 20%. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to strategize right here on this whiteboard exactly how, utilizing the information that we've learned today, to increase ups. And then we're going to find out the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and we're going to actually implement this tomorrow. How's that sound, everybody? Good? Beautiful. Okay, so I need a person to give me an idea. In your business, based upon some of the information that you've learned today, how can you increase the amount of opportunities that you guys have all agreed to me was possible? How can you increase the amount of opportunities for your business? Banners. All right, explain it to me. Remember, I don't know anything about this industry. A banner. I think you said banners, right? Is that Susan? Yeah. Remember that name right? Why is banner so important?
Well, I don't know that I don't mean it as far as customers driving by.
Okay.
When you drive up to a business, there should be a nice sign. And so that was more, I mean, sometimes you get a drive by, but banners are important for credibility of business.
Credibility. Okay. Visibility. All right, let me ask you this. What are we selling? No, we're not. Selling a solution? I'll take it one step further. What are you really selling? Let me ask you this question. How many people buy sheds? How many sheds does an average person buy in their lifetime? How many? One, right? One, maybe two. I've never owned a shed, right? I'm going to buy one. I'm going to buy one of those nice ones, right? Sally's She Shed. Shedgal.com. Absolutely. Shout out to her. So here's the deal. And so if somebody only buys something once or twice throughout their entire lifetime, what's their level of competency in the buying process of buying sheds? It's very low, right? You see, everybody here is an absolute expert. So your competency is extremely high, and we take our competency extremely for granted. You see, because the clients that come in the door, they might do some research, but they're absolutely not experts. And so when they walk into your shed lot, they may be wanting to buy a shed, but they want something more than that. What they want in every sale, and every salesperson should be selling certainty. Certainty. Because when I walk onto a shed lot, as I've done over the past few weeks, the one thing I was looking for was for somebody, an expert, to tell me, hey, Rob, listen, I got you. I know this is weird. I don't know what a 16 by 16 or an 18 by 16, that guy's little rap song, I have no idea what that's about. I have zero clue what that's about. What does that mean to me as a novice in the shed industry, as a novice buyer who only buys 1 to 2 sheds, in my entire lifetime? What am I looking for? I'm looking for an expert to give me guidance and expertise in order to find and make a buying decision, an informed buying decision. Am I right or am I wrong? Amen. All right, fantastic. So when we put banners out there, what I'm doing is I'm showing credibility, right? I'm saying, hey, by the way, I'm here, I'm credible, I'm a real business, because nobody wants to show up to a business that looks a little bit sketch, right? If it doesn't have a sign, chances are it's like, okay, what's the competency? If I was up here in rags in a flour sack, what would be your propensity to listen to me? Very low, right? And so it's important for us to have some type of visibility, some type of commonality, some type of compensity to where when I show the way my brand is to the client, I can automatically identify with them and they can say, you know what? I like this brand. I feel comfortable. Let me ask you this question. Ladies in the room, where would you rather go to the bathroom? Would you rather go to the bathroom at Sunoco? Would you rather go to the bathroom at Starbucks? Ladies, tell me. Buc-ee's, Busey's, absolutely, right? I like Buc-ee's too, right? She use that. You go to the bathroom at the Starbucks. Why? Because you have 100% certainty when you pull off that interstate that it's going to be clean, right? And so on your shed lot, is your shed lot clean? Is your shed lot, because we heard before, sometimes the ladies make the decision here, right? And so you got to be thinking about the lady as well. What do your bathrooms look like, right? How well are we connecting with our clients to give them the absolute certainty that this is the best place to shop? How are we dressed? Are we dressed to impress? And what does our shed lot look like as we're driving up to get the up to begin with? Love that. Visibility, that's going to bring people in. So let me ask you this question. If you don't have signage and you add signage and you add some visibility and some buying keywords to where the client can actually want to come in and drive onto your lot, what would that do to your traffic? Would your traffic go up or would your traffic go down? Up by what percent? What would be your goal if you spent $3,000 on some banners and maybe $5,000 on a sign? So you got $7,000, $8,000 into the whole deal. What percent? What we need to do, and this is something that a lot of people forget about, is whenever we have a bold strategy, we oftentimes forget to put a goal. And so it's very important, anytime you guys try something new when you get out of one of these conferences, is to attach a goal. What does success look like? What does failure look like? And so tell me, if you did that, what would be your percent expectation? You got 100 people a month coming in. How many more people are going to come in? A 20%? Is that what I heard? Is that what I heard, 20%? I believe it, absolutely, right? You know who's undefeated on the sales floor? The flappy arm guy. Throw the flappy arm guy out there. He'll sell more than any sales program you could possibly get out there. Okay, so we said 20%. Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you personally guarantee me just 1% increase? Yes? Fantastic. Give me one more idea. Give me another idea. Come on, guys. Participation is mandatory. Social media. Okay, talk to me. Paid leads? Okay. Okay, fantastic. So what would happen? Raise your hand if you're currently using social media. Okay, it's about 80% of the room. Why is the 20% not doing it? What's the most powerful company in the world right now? What's that? It's Google. Whoever said Google is 100% right, the most powerful company in the world. Why? Because they dictate everything that you see on that smartphone. Everything that you see is funneled through Google and pushed right to you, even some of your Facebook stuff. They use Google Analytics to push it to you. And so if you're not using social media, you are missing out on almost 100% of your clients. Raise your hand if you have a cell phone. 100% of the room. Imagine that, right? And so think about this. If you're not using social media, if you're not using some type of media and utilizing these that are hyper-local, I will tell you this, the number one thing that people forget in this industry and many other industries is that they try to cast this huge wide net. You see, Sheds is very specific, right? And so you can target a customer down to the fine-tooth comb. You can actually split atoms with social media when it comes to actually finding your customers. So at this conference, I talked to already 3 or 4 different people that have phenomenal social media products and campaigns. Learn what they're doing, ask them for help, and I promise you the return on investment will be at least 2x. Put your dollars first, you will absolutely get them back. And so what do you think? If we do social media, for those of you that are not doing it, what do you think your traffic would increase by? Remember, when you're targeting these ads, that means that you're going to be targeting people that put in portable buildings, carports, sheds, different things like that, right? Man sheds, she sheds, all these different kinds of things. And so by having a hyper-focused social media campaign and by going live on your shed lot to where you become the celebrity. Raise your hand if you follow an Instagram celebrity, right? Or a social media celebrity, right? A lot of us do. And so by becoming the celebrity in your industry, that commonality happens almost instantaneously because when that person comes on your shed lot, they're going to say, Nate, you're the guy from the video, aren't you? Man, you're fantastic. Now guess what? Nate is going to say, yes, that's right. I am the expert in the industry. I am your friend in the shed industry, and I can answer all of your questions. There's no more rapport that needs to be built because the commonality and the rapport has already been built through social media. What would that do for your traffic? Increase it, right? By what percent?
Probably 3 or 4 or 5 times.
3 or 4 or 5 times. So let me ask you a silly question. Would you at least personally guarantee me just 1%? Now here's the deal. What did we establish? We established at the high end that we're going to do a 2 to 3x. But what I'm also doing is I'm setting the floor. Because what I like to do is I like to define what failure looks like. We can all agree we're not going to have a negative amount of customers, right? And so if I can define failure and I can show you by failing that you'll make more money and create more relationships and change more lives and pay your employees more money, you'll probably do it, right? All right, fantastic. So one more idea. And I got to go quick because I know we're already behind time. One more idea. Google My Business. Absolutely. All right, explain that. Yes. Yep. You know what I found? I was Googling a lot of different ones, and maybe this is crazy, but your reviews, right? The reviews are majorly important. No, 2 things I saw, and I know Gary talked about this before about the break. What's the number 1 1-star review on shed lots? No one was there. I mean, went there during business hours, no one was there, and there was no sign on the door saying they were coming back in 15 minutes. One of them said, sign said 15 minutes, waited there for 25 minutes, never saw a soul. Okay? So think about that. If that happens, and it's the number 1 1-star review, isn't that something that we can easily overcome? And let me ask you this question. Let's take it one step further. Raise your hand if you've ever had a raving fan, somebody that's absolutely ecstatic with the way you've served them in your industry. Raise your hand, right? For all of you that didn't raise your hands, thanks for coming here, right? Makes a lot of sense. No, I'm just kidding. But here's the deal. What are we doing at the end of the transaction? To this gentleman's point right here, I think it says Tyler, right? To Tyler's point right here, what are we doing at the end of the transaction? We have a raving fan. We have somebody that says, listen, I never thought I'd be able to afford a shed like this. You guys showed me some of the rent-to-own options. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by the level of service. Thank you very much. Have a great day. No. Tyler, could you do me a huge favor? would you mind just popping up your cell phone? You know, we're a small, locally owned business. You don't have to actually do it, but I appreciate it. He's already doing it. Look at that, right? He's doing it for me. Hey, go on robball.com. No, I'm just kidding. But here's the deal. Can you just write me, you can do whatever star you want, but if you believe I gave you 5-star service, can you mind dropping my name in there and just doing that? Would you mind doing that for me? Send them the link. You can have a QR code on your desk. Hey, right here, tap the QR code, right? And hey, would you mind giving me a review? Now here's the deal. Everybody's looking for the silver bullet. There is no silver bullet in business. I promise you there is absolutely, I'm sorry I'm a little under the weather, that's why I'm sweating, but there is no silver bullet in business. There is only little itty bitty cuts. There is no silver bullet. There is not one thing that you can do to change your business. It is all the things that you have to do in order to change your business. So let me ask you this question, Tyler. You really concentrated on Google My Business. You started looking at reviews, right? So you became the number one searched for shed business in your area. What would that do to your traffic? 25%. So Tyler, I think you know the question I'm about to ask. Would you personally guarantee me just 1%, sir? Amen. All right, love it. So we got 1%, 1%, 1%. We're at 3%. Is this reasonable to say that through these ideas, if that's all we concentrate on for the next 365 days, that we could get a minimum of 3% return? Yes or no? Yes. Beautiful. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about closing ratio. We're at 20%. And I think whoever told me they're at 20% is a liar. Okay? I think it's much lower than that. There's no way. I think the all-stars in this business are at 20%. What can we do to increase our closing ratio? Huh? Say it again. More follow-up. Okay. Explain it to me. I'm sorry. Say it one more time, just a little bit louder. Absolutely, right? What about the clients that don't make a purchase? What are people looking for more than anything? When they step onto your shed lot, they're looking for what? Certainty. They're looking for certainty, nothing else, right? Why do people leave shed lots without making a decision? Lack of certainty, right? And so have you ever had a client come in and say, you know what, I need more information, I need to go home and think about it, I need to go measure, I need to go talk to my spouse? Have you guys ever had those objections before? Sometimes those are real objections, right? Just like you said before, Andy Elliott might say, you know what, you can't make a decision without your wife? No, that ain't gonna happen in my house. Mama's making the decision, no matter what, right? And so if that's true for me, you can't overcome that objection, and so here's the deal. Sometimes clients need to go home and think about it. You guys ever heard the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? How can you become the squeaky wheel? What's that? Call them, text them, email them, right? But what do you need to do in order to do that first? You need to get their number. Okay, love it. What else? Something needs to happen. What's that? Need to get their name. I love that too. Say that loud and proud, my friend. Need to get their permission. Absolutely. That is the most important. It's called a verbal contract, okay? So if I tell the client, hey, listen, I know that you need to go home and think about it. I need you to go home and measure all these different things. That is no problem. What I want to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, because we spend quite a bit of time together, would it be okay and fair for me to take down your name and your phone number and to shoot you a text on the shed that we were interested in today? Because I know how it is. It's kind of like Smith and perfume bottles at the perfume store. Once you smell one, you smell two, you smell three, now they all smell the same. And so what I want to do is I want to be the coffee beans in the shed industry. I want to separate myself from everybody else. And I can promise you this, I stepped onto 5 shed lots, and in the 5 shed lots that I went to, I gave 0 people my information, and you know what? I only had 1 of them come out of the shed to even say hello to me. Think about that. So think about that right there. Between me and a $6,000 sale would have been to just call and follow up. But here's the funny thing. I had a $150 gift card for the first person that would ask for my information and then text me or follow up with me just to prove a point, because I don't want to waste their up as a professional salesperson. So what would happen if, let me ask you this question, out of 100 clients that come in, out of 100 of them, could you get 100 names and 100 phone numbers? Yes or no? Okay. Could you get 50? Yes or no? Could you get 25? No doubt, right? But let me ask you this question. Can you get just one? You guys are getting it now. Okay. You can get just one. Beautiful. 1%. Let's talk about it. One more thing we could do to increase our closing ratio. What's that? Know your product. Deep dive on that for me just for 2 seconds, sir. Warranty. Love that. Absolutely. Know your product. Product knowledge. Now, here's the deal. I'm a firm believer that product knowledge doesn't sell anything. Humans sell things. And what product knowledge does, it makes the customer what? Certain. Makes the customer certain. That's what product knowledge is. And how do you get your sales associates on your shed lots product knowledge? By training them. Raise your hand if you're training your people. Okay, think about this. You're well paid for ups just walking right out the door every single day. I'll give $150 to somebody right here, right now, if they can describe a competent and confident sales process. Now, here's the deal. I can tell you right now, unequivocally, the best salespeople in the world make their clients certain, and they do the same thing over and over and over again because they find a level of success that's duplicatable. And the reason why this young lady here said, find a successful salesperson, attach yourself to them, and don't do what the bad ones do. Right? You said that? And the reason why that's important is because the great salespeople have a process that is duplicatable and can be infectious to those other individuals. So let's define a sales process real quick. What's the first step in the sales process? Greeting. What's the next step? What? Nope, not yet. Okay, now I walk in, bing bong, or maybe not bing bong, right? Because it's normally outside. Sorry, not an industry professional here. So I walk onto your shed lot. I go out there to the client. My friend Anthony here is the client, prospective client. I walk up to you and I said, hey, how you doing? My name is Rob with, ShedBuilderExpo.com. How may I help you? Something very benign like that. What's Anthony going to say? No thanks, I'm just. All right, out of 100 people that you greet, what percentage of those people say that? All of them. Number one, I know Gary talked a lot about how you can overcome that, right? Are you just looking, sir? Right, you can get past that. But if I allow that client to look, what should I do after that? You can ask them questions. Let's say you ask them a question after you greet them. You go right back into it. Now, first things first, I'll tell you this. Sales is a transfer of emotion and nothing else. So the one thing I'm going to try to create during a greeting is urgency, right? I walk up by having banners and the floppy arm guy and some balloons on the shed lot. I'm going to walk up there and say, hey, Anthony, welcome to our shed lot. Are you here for our Memorial Day sale? Massive intentionality, right? Are you here for our Memorial Day sale? Are you here for our buy one, get one free shed? I don't know if that's possible, right? I'm just making it up now, okay? Too late. Are you here for that? No, you're not. Good, because we don't have it, right? Okay, are you here for our, I don't know. What is the promotion in the shed business, right? Are you here for our double siding event? Are you here for our purple shed sale? Are you here for something? Are you here just to kick tires? What are you here for, right? But by creating some urgency, are you here for whatever the event is, 4th of July, etc., I'm going to have Anthony say, yes, I am. Fantastic. Now he's no longer just looking. But here's the deal. Anthony can still be a bum. Anthony, you're a bum, okay? And he can still say that I'm just looking. Not a problem. You know what? You picked the absolute best time to look. The reason why is because we have been extremely busy, and this is the slowest period of the entire day. And so I can have your undivided attention, Anthony. So if there's any questions that you have, I will be right here for you. And I'm going to come back, making a verbal contract, just like we discussed a few minutes ago. I'm going to come back to you in about 10 minutes. Is that fair enough, Anthony? He's writing it down, but trust me, he would say yes. Okay? So now that he said yes, fantastic. What should I do? Afterwards, I need to reapproach. Now, do not judge me on my spelling. If I spell it wrong, just laugh at me behind my back. Anyway, so greet, reapproach, greet with urgency, reapproach with urgency, right? But what am I doing as a professional salesperson? I know this meeting is sponsored by Candy Crush. Don't be playing Candy Crush. We're watching customers' body language. You see, customers are liars. Say it with me. Customers are liars. 1, 2, 3.
Customers are liars.
All right, now say this, but they're not actors. They ain't acting, okay? Here's the deal. Raise your hand if you ever sold a customer that said that they were just looking in the same day. Proof is in the pudding, right? Customer comes in, says they're just looking, they lied to you, but guess what? They bought a shed. So guess what? Get away from that. Who cares if they say that they're just looking? It doesn't matter. They're just buying, they're just lying, they're just acting. And so by watching the customer's body language, I can watch them and say, okay, fantastic. I know that they're looking for a 10 by 10, or they're looking for something with the bifold doors. They're looking for something a little bit more elaborate. They're looking at paint colors. They brought out paint swatches. How could I possibly know what the client is looking for if I'm not paying attention to them? Super important. The next step to this gentleman in the back's point is going to be discovery. Then we're going to go present. Present. We're going to trial close. And then we're going to close. Okay, so what we have here, and I know we have a very short period of time, I'm sorry. This presentation normally takes 6.5 hours, by the way. They told me to do it in 40 minutes. Crazy. Anyway, so greet, reapproach, discovery, present, trial close, close, and what's the last step after that? Amen. Love that. All right, so here's the question. If we started to greet, and we want to increase our closing ratio, we started to greet our clients with intentionality, like the gentleman from JMAG talked about before, being very intentional in the way that we talk to our clients, what would happen to our closing ratio? It would go up, right? What's the goal of the greeting? Goal of the greeting, somebody. Break the ice, like it, not really the goal, but it's a byproduct, like it. What else? Urgency, rapport, byproduct, like it. The goal of the greeting is to engage in a meaningful conversation. You see, 20 years ago, sales associates could be told what to do and they never needed to know why. Now everybody wants to know why. What's the reason behind that, right? You guys all agree with me on that? So what I need to do when I get back is to tell every salesperson the goal of the greeting is to engage in meaningful conversation, because when was the last time you sold a shed without engaging in a meaningful conversation? Never happens. So you got to get the client talking. So what would happen to our sales or our closing ratio if we were to teach them that the goal of the greeting is to meaningful conversation? Would anybody here personally guarantee me just 1%? Throw up a 1 for me real quick, everybody. Fantastic. Okay. And what happens if the customer says, you know what, I'm just looking. I'm just looking. I'm not interested in buying nothing. I don't want to talk to you no more. What happens if we taught our sales associates that the customers are liars, but they're absolutely buyers and they're not acting? What would happen if we taught them to reapproach? If we have 100 people walk into our lot, could we reapproach 100% of them? Yes or no? Could we reapproach 50% of them? Yes or no? Could we reapproach 25% of them? Yes or no? Could we reapproach my man? Say it loud and say it proud. Just 1%. All right. Oh, yeah, baby. Give him a round of applause. He got himself 1%. All right. So 3%. All right, last one. We're in the home stretch. We're going to show you why I'm talking like this and sweating like this up here for y'all. All right, last one. Average sale. How can we increase average sale? We're at 6K. How can we do it? What else do you need? What does that mean? What's that? Okay. What else? Okay. What else? Ladder. Okay. How do we get the client to say yes to those things? No, you don't ask. Huh? Show it to them. I like it. Okay. What are we doing? We're creating certainty. Right? We have to create certainty by creating a problem, by providing a solution and painting a nice picture to them as to what we're supposed to do, right? Mr. and Mrs. Customer, can you explain to me, and I'm just making this up on the fly, did not think about this at all, even know ramps were a thing to sell with sheds. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, what are you putting in that shed? Role play with me right quick. Ryan? Lawnmower? Okay, fantastic. Well, Ryan, you look like a big burly dude, man. You're pretty strong, but what kind of lawnmower do you have?
I mean, it rides lawnmower pretty heavy.
Okay, so on this shed has a, how big is the lid on the shed? 9-inch lip. Now let me ask you a question. Number one, when you drive that thing up there, it's going to create a lot of damage. Wouldn't you agree, Ryan? If we just drive that thing in there and you cut your lawn how many times a month? 4 times a month. Okay, so once a week. Okay, fair enough. So you're going to be dragging it out once and then put it back in. So that's 16, or is that 8? That's 8 times a month that's going to be going there. How long do you think, Ryan, that lip will stay good? Okay, so one thing that we have, and it's a very low cost, is that we have a ramp. And the ramp is $500. I don't know, is that right? Say $500 for the ramp. How much? Each, $450, $425, $499, $99, okay? It's $500, right? Anyway, so we have a ramp. Now, Ryan, let me ask you this question. One thing that you told me before during the discovery phase in the sales process is that you were curious about financing one of these things. If I could show you a way, Ryan, to get a ramp so you didn't have to worry about damaging it so you can keep your shed longer for like 20 years and keep that cost at a bare minimum, maybe only increasing your monthly payment by $1 or $2, would you be interested in saving yourself some time, energy, and some money? Absolutely. Fantastic. Let me show you how to do that. Does that make sense? Right? So what am I doing? Number one, I'm creating a problem. Number two, presented a solution to them. Number three, I made it affordable, but I framed affordability first by asking Ryan for permission. If I could show you how to do this, would you be interested? If he says no, I don't move forward. But if he says yes, fantastic, then I move forward. The most important piece of this is to train your sales associates and to create goals and KPIs around those metrics to where they cannot be forgotten. Does this make sense? All right, what would that do to our average sale? No, I want 3% because we're running out of time, all right? Let's say 3%, all right? So let's talk about ramps. We'll talk about this. I heard there was an upgrade upgrade paint. There's all different kinds. Electrical could be probably a 5 to 10% increase, right? Because electrical's super expensive, right? Air conditioning, is that something you could put in these things? I mean, holy crap, I wish they would turn the air conditioning on in here. That'd be nice, okay? Maybe somebody could talk them into buying some AC. Anyway, so here's the deal, okay? What I implore each and every one of you to do here, number one, is this impactful information? Does all of this make sense, yes or no? Beautiful. This is the worst thing and the worst utilization of your time is to not do this exact thing, and with Gary's permission, I will email you out this exact presentation. If you signed up, you paid for this to be at this event, you can have these slides so that way you can go back and perform the same exact meeting with your salespeople. Because one thing that I recognize, and I'm going to show you the math here in a minute, one thing I recognize is as a professional salesperson and speaker myself, if I say it, it's my opinion. And as a business owner, like a lot of you are, if you say it, you're just telling your people what to do. And people do not like to be told what to do. What they want to do is they want to be pulled in, right? They want to be included, and they want their opinions to be valued and heard. And so what you need to do is go back to your sales team and say, hey guys, listen, I saw this guy. He was sweating a lot up on stage. He's a crazy guy. Hey, he told me, let's talk about these 3 ideas. How can we increase ups? And then empower them with all of your might to allow your salespeople to do it. Every idea that we had here except for paid leads is completely free. Doesn't cost you not another single solitary penny to do any of it. All you need to do is empower your salespeople. And when you empower your salespeople to get these things done, this is what can happen to your business. So 1% failure time. We defined what success looks like, 20, 30% in some of these ideas, and then we looked at 1%, okay? So average monthly opportunities, we're just asking for a measly 2 more opportunities, which is a 3% increase on 60. Does this make sense? Beautiful. Closing ratio going from 20 to 23%. Let me ask you this question. Is that possible, yes or no? Is it reasonable, yes or no? Absolutely. Going from 12 transactions, that's not right. So I'll have to get you guys the math back on that. Anyway, average transaction value, $6,000 to $6,180. Is it possible to add $180 to every single sale, yes or no? Without, I see people like, come on, that's so easy, right? That's a couple throw pillows on the back of the she shed, right? And that's how easy that is. Your average monthly sales volume would go from $72,000 to $86,520 using your ideas. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now here's something that's really cool. One thing that I was told in life is the most valuable commodity is what? Nothing else, right? And so what I'm always trying to do in my businesses is trying to duplicate time. I'm trying to add a 13th and 14th month. And so if God came down here tomorrow and says, you know what? For no additional work, really, you can get an additional 2 months out of the year for free. Would you do it? Would you be interested in that? And so by compiling these ideas, you're increasing your sales by $174,270 on a 12-month roll rate, which is a 20% increase in sales. And this is all ideas that I think some of you guys are doing, but when you deep dive into this with your sales associates, you're going to find that they have ideas that they feel very, very excited about, that they would love to explore. If you empower them, you can find these sales too and not pay a single solitary cent for it. And so with that, I really appreciate your guys' time today. Thank you guys for educating me on the shed business. It's been fantastic. Thank you guys so much.
I appreciate it. That
You
was
got it,
awesome.
brother. Yes, sir.
Yeah, in my opinion, so I was just thinking if we add paid leads with this, which we can offer those, you've got a winner there. I'm just saying, you've got a winner there. So, yeah, I think this is going to be it for the Shed Sales Summit. I'm super excited. Got some really, really good news, really fun news. Are you ready? We ready to do it? Okay, all right. So next year, the Shed Sales Summit and the Shed Builder Expo 2025 will be in Knoxville, Tennessee.